Good evening. Today is November the 1st, 2022. Thank you all for being here today. Our thought for today is each of us guard a gate of change that can only be opened from the inside. That's Stephen Covey. I'm going to go ahead and officially call this meeting to order tonight. I'm going to ask if Commissioner Mason, if you would, lead us in our prayer tonight. I'm going to ask Commissioner Sanders, if you would, lead us in our pledge tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let us all bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us back to this place of business one more time. God, we ask that you bless each board member. We ask that you bless each citizen here in Newton County. And as we move forward doing the business of Newton County, God, we ask that you give us the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding, God, to help elevate and move this community to the next level and to make the best decisions that we can so that we can have a great quality of life. We thank you for all that you've done in our community, and we even bless you and praise you for what you are about to do. We give you all the kingdom, honor, and the glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, guys. Commissioners, if there's no changes to the agenda, I seek a motion that we approve, please. Commissioner Sanders.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add to the agenda a discussion and consideration of the West Side Youth Facility. We sent, our county manager sent an email in regards to adding that to the agenda.
Oh, that's right. That's correct, he did do that. I want to make that item, let's do that. Let's make that 10A. 10A. Consideration of the West Side Youth Facilities locations, 10A. With that change, I seek a motion that we'll approve the agenda, please.
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. It passes 5-0. Next on the agenda is citizens' comments. This is an opportunity that we allow citizens to make comments. You have 3 minutes to do so, but I do want to remind you that we do not allow outbursts. We do not allow applauding and all of those things. And we do, it's a 3-minute time limit, so we do want you to be respectful of the time. So if you would, we have agenda topics only. You have 3 minutes to do so. If you would, please come now. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. Thank you. Agenda topics only.
Good evening.
Good evening.
3 minutes supposed to be intimidating, but I understand.
Thank you.
Well. Good evening to all of you, the county commissioners and all the staff and employees of the county. I'm here for one of the issues that's on the agenda in reference to ARPA funds. Just about everybody in this room can attest to the fact that they don't have to worry about where they sleep at night or warmth in their houses or what have you. But there are many people throughout our city, county, state, nation who are homeless and don't have the opportunity, as many of us in here, to have warmth. And we think that's a God-given right to be able to have that. ARPA funds, we know, is for the American Rescue Plan, and to reduce negative impact of the pandemic and address fallouts, and also lay the foundation for a strong and equitable recovery. We know that a lot of time we pass by homeless and are not very concerned about them. But we at Grace United Methodist Church, and my pastor will be here, but he's dealing with a family matter. We, a lot of time, would like to, as Covington people, be sensitive to that. We, this past winter, Grace United Methodist Church on Washington Street, held and hosted the Women's Center. We had at least 80 persons who were a part of that, men, women, and children, and families. So we want to continue that. We partner with the City of Covington as well as Willing Helpers and other nonprofit organizations and faith communities as well. And partnering with, we actually were able to say, we did what thus said the Lord. I know this is not necessary to you religious in the sense of what you do and what you think of it, but we are our brother's keeper regardless to how we may feel about it. And it behooves us to be concerned about it. And we would like to look at the ARPA funds. As you look at allocation of that, I would hope that you would be concerned about us at Grace United Methodist Church willing on Washington Street to do what's necessary to take care and make sure that others are warm as you are and those in this room are. A lot of times we forget from whence we come, and we arrive at a certain point in our lives where we ignore those who are less fortunate. But our church, our pastor, Reverend Robert Crawford Sr., wants to do the opposite. We want to look at these people in such a way we can say that they are brothers and sisters, and we want to do what's right. So we hope, since this is a recovery funds to help to capacitate those who are less fortunate, that we could do something about that. And I hope that you would consider this strongly and not pass it by and not give it the consideration, because we don't know where we're going to be. You may be here today, but your circumstance may be different tomorrow as well as your families. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Wendy Lowe. I live at 35 Highwood Drive in Covington. I have 3 issues I'd like to bring up. Number 1, I want to say I'd like to see you all vote no on number 14. Last meeting we voted down the $8.5 million for the capital improvement fund, but yet the $5,000 is on this again. And there's money out there that's earmarked for capital improvement funds, so I don't really understand why this is coming back up on the agenda again. And the ARPA funds need to be used for the ARPA funds and not for capital improvements, since that was voted down. And I understand that there's no line items in the budget for 2023 for capital improvement funds. So that needs to be fixed, because what are we going to do next year if you keep doing that and you don't have ARPA funds? So, no means no. The commissioners voted down the $8.5 million. That needs to be consistently done. That's what the citizens want. My second concern is, why is the county so concerned about funding the Boys and Girls Club? They have a trailer. Now they have a temporary building somewhere in Covington, I understand. And there's talk of them getting a building. But yet, in District 3, there is no kind of recreation facility. And we have $4.1 million slated for that. But now there's a conversation about that being taken away. And if that's taken away, then we lose the $4 million that Congressman Hank Johnson gave us as a grant. And if you lose that, that's going to reflect very badly on the leadership of Newton County, because it's going to be like you're not capable of making really good, solid decisions, because when you return $4 million, nobody returns $4 million. So that is a big problem for me, and I just feel that ministry starts at home. And before we start worrying about funding the building for the Boys and Girls Club, we need to fund District 3 and make sure the citizens who are paying the taxes are getting a building to use for their needs. And the Boys and Girls Club is a national non-profit. They can get funding from grants, celebrities, corporations, all of that. And our nonprofits are so small that they don't have that kind of access to funding. And I think that we need to make sure in the ARPA funds that our nonprofits are taken care of, because they're the ones that are out there doing the grassroots work of the people. And so I definitely think that we need to make sure that we're very careful about how we're spending that. And I'd like to see the $1 million go back to the commissioners, because like I said, that's going to nonprofits and small businesses that are out there doing the grassroots work. And if you ever call 211 for United Way and need help, you're going to find out that there's not very much help for Newton County. Other counties have it. You know, what are we doing with our money? We need to be concerned about our underrepresented citizens, which is what the Executive Order 13985 is expressing, and that's how they want the money to be orchestrated to help those residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Annette Alston. I'm with Trelawney Subdivision. I'm actually the president of the HOA of Trelawney. And I understand that some of those capital improvements were going to go toward Trelawney for a park or walking path. Now, in the spring, Trelawney homeowners met at Turner Lake with Commissioner Henderson and a few people from the planning office to discuss an idea that there would be a community park or walking path that would be adjacent to or go through the Trelawney subdivision. At that time, our homeowners expressed concerns about security, or exactly what would how close it would be to other people's properties, what the entrance was going to be used, which entrance was going to be used. There were a lot of questions. Will there be cameras? And if so, who's paying for them? We already have a mess we are in the midst of cleaning up, because the developers that developed our subdivision fell short of doing what they were supposed to do in terms of filing the covenant declarations. And so we're cleaning that mess up. And the same developer that basically started that mess wants a tax credit. Okay, all we needed from him was for him to speak to us and talk to our attorney and clear things up. He didn't do that. Commissioner Alano should be allowed to do what she wants to with her community funds that were allocated for the youth center there. We may eventually want something near us, by us, that is fully secure and does not require the outside to come through either of our entrances. But for now, thanks to a lack of foresight of the developers, we have bigger fish to fry. Either way, when you make a decision to come into Trelawney or the student subdivision, we deserve a hearing. You don't just come in and say, we're going to do this here, and don't talk to us about what the plans are and how this is going to be developed and get our say-so on this, or our input. That's extremely important. And so we're demanding that, basically, before you make any decisions to make any inroads into Trelawney whatsoever.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Thank you so much. Next is the chairman's report. I want to first thank our DA, Randy McGinley, for putting together a nonprofits awareness day. He did it in Walton County, and then he brought it to Newton County, where he brought nonprofits out, and they had an opportunity to talk to the citizens of Newton County to let them know what kind of services that they offer. So we want to thank him and thank him for allowing me to be a part of that. I had an opportunity to go talk to the retired educators in this community. As we know, November 6th is Retired Educators Day. We presented a proclamation to them, and we gave them an update on some of the things that are going on in the county. A great opportunity. We had also an opportunity to talk to the Newton County Bar Association, which was a great meeting. Got a lot of feedback from some of the judges and some of the local attorneys here in the community. It was a great event. Something that I think the county manager talked about at the last board meeting, we had the opportunity to go to a free pet vaccination and microchipping clinic that we held here at Turner Lake. When I got there was so many people in line with their animals. It was unbelievable. I think it was a great turnout for the citizens here in our community. We had an opportunity to award 4-H with a proclamation. we're excited about that. We're excited about the things that 4-H is actually doing here in our community. We hope to partner with them a little bit more as we move forward. Today we had a groundbreaking. It's crazy to me how much economic development that this community is attracting because of I think the leadership that is here throughout the community. So we're just thankful that we were able to go to this ribbon cutting, a groundbreaking today with the City of Covington, Mayor Horton. I think they did an excellent job today. Apostolics, they are going to bring 410 new jobs here in this community. It's over $600 million investment. Senator Ossoff was there today. So it was a great turnout. We will be in our retreat tomorrow, the Board of Commissioners retreat. We're going to be in Athens. We're going to leave here tomorrow about 7:30 sharp, all who are riding on the bus with us. We're looking to have a good time in Athens and to learn more about each other and more about things that we can provide for our community. Also, we want to keep Miss Jackie in our prayers. As we know, she lost her husband a couple of weeks ago, and then turned right around. Her house burnt down, and she lost everything that she had. So we want to make sure we keep her in our prayers. We're going to try to do some things for her in the upcoming days, so we'll make sure we get our emails out to you guys. And also, our beloved Miss May Frank, we call her Mama May. A lot of you know her coming in and out of the admin building, and of course here. She had a heart attack and she passed away, and we're sending special prayers out to her family on tonight as well. That's all we have for our chairman's report, Mr. County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we're going to have a report providing statistical data, as well as provide a different approach highlighting one of our departments. So reporting out for this month, for our animal services, we had a great turnout at the vaccination clinic. 224 pets received services. We had 80 pet adoptions in the month of October. Animal intake remains 25% higher than last year. Animal service call volume remains high, approximately 30% higher than last year. For our building services, they completed 5G upgrades on cellular dialers at multiple facilities. Exterior work has begun on the generator project at the admin building. Interior work will not begin until after the first of the new year. We also assisted with the setup, sound, and the podium for the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes event. It was a great event. This event raised awareness about domestic violence in our community in the month of October. We also will light up the admin building tower in green November the 7th through the 13th to continue to show our support for our veterans. We completed 155 maintenance requests for the month of October. For our EMA, they coordinated efforts with GEMA and FEMA to have dive team classified as Type 3 resources for the state. They provided coordination with the National Weather Services in 3 different sessions of storm spotter and sky warning classes. For current code red registration numbers as of 10/28/2022, businesses 312, residences 1374, cell phones 1534, notifications via text 1552, notifications via email 453, and weather warnings 968. For our extension office, we completed 215 total contacts, whether it was phone calls, emails, office. We participated in 7 site visits. We worked 19 hours with the state livestock to show over 2 weekends at the Georgia National Fair, and over 1,000 students had met in our monthly clubs in 10 public schools and 3 private schools. And for our fire service for the month of October, 30 fires, 294 rescues and EMS calls, 18 hazardous condition calls, 21 service calls, 85 good intent calls, 41 false alarm and false calls, and 1 special incident. Total calls 488 with a 100% response rate. GIS, we had 15 maps requests and were received. We also hired a new GIS intern, Hazel Peppermont, started on 10/28. The student is majoring in geoscience at Georgia State University. Go Panthers. GIS staff continued to work on the Next Gen project during the month of October. For HR risk management, we onboarded 12 employees across the following departments: planning and zoning, tax assessors, animal services, elections, fire service, detention, sheriff's office, and GIS. We offboarded 9 employees across the following departments: solid waste, public works, public defenders, tax assessors, recreation, senior services, and the sheriff's office. And our insurance broker and risk consultant hosted a risk management training for our department directors at our last monthly meeting. We performed audit on 5 active retirement accounts and updated for IRS contribution. For information services, our employees continue with training participation for October as far as with security, 73% down from the 75% at the end of September. We did have 75 real suspicious emails that were reported to IS by employees, the fish alert button, and information services responded to 227 support tickets for the month of October, down from 247. Juvenile court, they also processed 49 delinquency complaints and served 29 walk-ins. Judge Branch, Judge Egger, Olivia Johnson, and Jennifer Warren participated in the Walk a Mile in her shoes event. And Judge Egger also attended a conference in Athens. Public Defender's Office, they had 13 court calendar days. They assisted with 4 trial weeks, and they won several trials and had many favorable outcomes for the clients in the month of October. Parks and Recreation, basketball registration ended with 604 participants. We wrapped up our fall league sports with 900 participants. Something I'd like to highlight with our director of mass, we had 12 participants in our fall season of esports we have here now in our county, esports. Thank you, Dwayne, for that. We had 15,713 people to visit our center for the month of October. We had 912 paying members at the center. And for the month of October, we have upcoming for November the 5th, we have our current fall festival this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at City Pond Park. We hope you all can attend. PIO, video reached 17,000 for Facebook, almost 3,000 on Instagram, almost 1,200 on YouTube. Website received 65,000 page views in October, and our most popular page was Ways to Vote. Facebook reached 37,000, a 34% increase from September. I'd like to recognize Mr. Fazio on getting information out with our spotlights and increasing our social media coverage. Instagram had 1,547 followers in the month of October, and Twitter had 1,200 impressions in October. Public Works, we completed our SPLOS resurfacing of Ball Ground Road, Jersey Road, Smith Store Road, and Scout Road. Completed SPLOS patching on Hanley Mill and trash pickup counts for October 1st through the 27th, 3751 bag count. Tons taken to the landfill, 18.79, as well as the sheriff assisting, we had 254 bags. Senior services, we had 28 new and renewing seniors. We had a van transportation, 54 people, 558 trips, 4872 miles traveled, and tickets are still available for our upcoming senior citizens celebration of awards on November the 6th at 3 p.m. at the Porter Performing Arts Center. Solid Waste, we welcome David Henry on board as the acting solid waste manager 2 employees completed OSHA's 10 safety training. We had 91 hang tags in the month of October, and we have a total of 5360 hang tags total. Transportation, we were awarded the Yellow River Bridge project, and CMS began construction on the Snappy Shoals Creek Bridge replacement. We advertised the Jack Neely at Kirkland Roundabout for construction, and we also advertised the 2022 resurfacing project. And I'd like to just make note of upcoming comprehensive planning district community meetings. District 1, the meeting is scheduled at East Ridge Community Church of Covington. It's scheduled for November the 9th at 5:30. District 2, Zion Baptist Church, scheduled for November the 17th at 5:30. District 3, Almond Community Center, scheduled Wednesday, November 16th at 5:30. District 4, Nelson Heights Community Center, scheduled for Monday, November 14th at 5:30. And District 5, Newton County Water Resources, scheduled for November the 10th at 5:30. And that includes about our comprehensive planning meetings. We also wanted to kind of do something different. When we provide the statistical data, that's just one snapshot of what we're actually doing, but we have some very creative members of our team, and we wanted to kind of highlight, starting this month, each of our departments with a short video to just kind of share to our community what we're doing here in the county. Thank you, Brian.
Newton County Animal Services is located at 210 River Road in Covington, Georgia. The animal shelter received a renovation and expansion in 2020 and just recently developed a medical suite. The Animal Services building has office space for the department's 12 full-time and 1 part-time employee. The building has 29 enclosures for large to medium dogs, 10 enclosures for small dogs, 4 puppy pens, 6 dog quarantine enclosures, 21 cat enclosures, and 4 cat quarantine enclosures. Newton County Animal Services responds to requests and complaints regarding companion animals and livestock. This includes animal disease, aggressive and loose dogs, animal cruelty or neglect, and unconfined livestock. As part of the Department's public safety responsibility, Newton County Animal Services serves as the rabies control officer for Newton County. We prepare and submit possible rabies animals to the state laboratory for testing. The department's well-known service is promoting healthy, adoptable, unclaimed, or surrendered pets and livestock for adoption through our website and through a volunteer-operated Facebook page. Newton County Animal Services partners with many licensed rescue groups to promote positive outcomes of the pets in our care. The department also impounds and houses stray or unrestrained dogs. Newton County Animal Service Department enforces the county's Animal Services Ordinance, issues citations, and testifies in court, and assists law enforcement when animals are involved in evictions or arrests. They respond to calls Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and have an on-call officer to respond to emergencies after hours, weekends, and holidays. Newton County Animal Services does not respond to nuisance, wildlife, or deceased animals. Newton County Animal Services will be temporarily reducing our adoption fees to $50 for dogs and puppies, and $40 for cats and kittens.
Thank you.
Thank you. It is 7:30. It's time for us to go in our zoning. But before we do that, I want to use chairman privilege tonight to make a correction on item number 14. That shouldn't be 5,000. It should be 5 million. If you would make that notation, please. Thank you. It is actually 7:31. Ms. Applewhite, if you would, please come. It's time for our zoning tonight.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, Chairman and Board. We have 3 cases on the agenda this evening. The first case is REZ 22-000013 at 375 Flat Rock Road. The applicant has actually submitted a request, and it is included in your packets, for a 90-day deferral on this case to address concerns that were raised at the Planning Commission meeting.
Ms. Cowan, seek a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to grant the deferral on REZ 22-0000.
Can you please say that in the mic, please? Thank you.
I'm sorry, what?
Can you please repeat it in the mic, please?
Okay. All right. I'd like to make a motion to approve the letter request for a 90-day deferral received 10/26/22 for rezoning case REZ 22-000013.
Thank you, sir. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been a motion by Commissioner Cowan and second by Commissioner Henderson. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Our second case this evening is also a rezoning case. It is REZ 22-000014. It is located at 7079 Highway 212 and Highway 20. It is approximately 3.096 acres combined. It's 2 tracts. The first tract is 2.09 acres, and the second one is 1 acre. It is on tax ID parcels 17 and 17A. The existing land use map is mixed use. The existing zoning is R2, single family. The proposed zoning is CG, general commercial. It is in the South River watershed in Commissioner District 2, and our owners are William Stewart Hull and Susie Kate Underwood, care of Ann Hull Head. And our petitioner is Giza Digal, sorry. So the applicant's intent is to rezone the 3.096 acres from R2, single-family residential, to general commercial for the purposes of a proposed restaurant and a retail establishment. And again, the site is on the 2 different lots, totaling 3.096 acres, and it's located right at the junction of Highway 212 and 20. It is in the vicinity of highway commercial zoning, neighborhood commercial zoning, as well as office institutional zoning. So conclusion, given the fact that the property is in proximity to commercial zonings and the applicant's proposed uses of the land, staff is of the opinion that the rezoning may be appropriate for the site. Recommended conditions. Should this petition be approved by the Board of Commissioners, it should be approved general commercial, conditional, subject to the owner's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. Where these conditions conflict with the stipulations and offerings contained in the letter of intent, these conditions shall supersede unless specifically stipulated by the Board of Commissioners. 1, the owner's agreement to abide by the following. A minor plat must be approved by the Department of Development Services to combine the 2 lots. B, a 75-foot buffer must be maintained along the western boundary line that is adjacent to the R2 zoning. C, any required permits must be obtained from the Department of Development Services before any construction or development on the property. And D, permits must be obtained from external agencies such as GDOT, the Newton County Water and Sewer Authority, and the GSWCC, Georgia Soil and Water Conservation Committee. And here we have an aerial showing the location of the 2 parcels. It is combined for tax purposes currently. This is our zoning map. So our parcel is here currently zoned R2. All the pinks and reds are commercial zonings. And then you've got office institutional over here. And then these are R2 zonings on this side, to the south. This is the future land use map. It is mixed use, so this entire area here in yellow. It is slated for mixed use development, including the parcel that we're on. It is in the South River watershed, and this is a boundary survey that was completed, and you can see according to the legal description of the lots, it is actually 2 lots still. So we've got the 1 acre and then the 2.096 acre on this side. And this is a concept layout of what they're proposing. It's going to be 2 buildings, a restaurant and then a retail space. And if there are any questions for staff, and I believe the applicant is here today.
We're gonna go into the public hearing portion, and then we'll come back with questions.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. It's approximately 7:37. We're gonna open it up now for the applicant and those that want to speak in favor tonight. You have 10 minutes to do so. Please come and state your name, your address for the record, please. You may come at this time. The applicant and those that want to speak in favor tonight.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Staff, thank you for laying that out for us. As staff mentioned, this is at Highway 12 and 20 corridor. It's consistent with the businesses are in the area and the land use policies that have been put in place for the future land use map. And the commercial trends really along that Highway 212 and Highway 20 corridor. We feel that this proposed use of general commercial is the highest and best use of the property to help create additional jobs and tax revenue. Let's see, you know, that about 500 feet to our, what is that, northeast, there's retail, additional restaurants, grocery store. And so we're really just trying to adhere to the trends there in at that intersection and in that character area. So we respectfully request your approval for this application of the rezoning.
Thank you. Can you state your name, please?
Yes, sorry. Brad Horrible with Kimley Horn and Associates, and I'm the representative for the applicant, Geza de Gaulle.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak in favor tonight? Anyone else would like to speak in favor tonight? Thank you. That portion of our public hearing is closed. We also allow 10 minutes for those that would like to oppose tonight. You may come at this time. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. Anyone would like to oppose tonight? Please state your name and your address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Chris Jusky. My wife and I reside at 2349 Oak Hill Road, which is approximately 1 mile from this intersection. There's been reference to Georgia 20 and Georgia 212, but there's also another main artery, I'm blanking on it, that comes into the same intersection. And I'm here to speak against the proposition because there's been no discussion of traffic. That particular intersection is highly, highly congested at 2 lengthy periods of the day, and a commercial property added to that intersection would just make it further. The intersection's much better than it used to be with the lights that were installed a few years ago. We've been going through that intersection for 20 years, though. It's better than when we had stop signs, but if we're going to keep adding congestion to that intersection, we need a significant improvement in the traffic pattern. And I don't know what that would be, but if we just add a commercial business at that intersection, I think it'll be bad news for everybody that travels that area. So thank you. Be sure and vote now.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else would like to oppose tonight? Would anyone else would like to oppose tonight? Would anyone else like to oppose tonight? Thank you. That portion of our public hearing is closed. Ms. Applewhite, if you would, please come on back up. Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Mason?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Ms. Applewhite, we've heard from the applicant representation, and then we've also heard a concern about this particular project. Sounds like the concern is more of a traffic issue. Did we actually do a traffic study? I don't recall seeing it anywhere. Did we do that? And if so, do we know what the results are, or will we do that at a later date?
This particular development, it's not, it doesn't meet the criteria or the threshold, to have that done, but if that's something that the board would like to see, we could request that, to have the applicant do that.
So I guess this may be a question, would the applicant be open to doing that at this particular time? Is that
Yeah, I mean,
something we can?
if the county, if we request one, then they should provide one.
So maybe that, so that, because honestly, I think this is a great project, but maybe that is something that we can look at possibly doing.
So would you like to table this until we?
Yes, we
Okay.
can actually table this. Can we do it for 30 days? To give, I don't know, is that enough time to actually get a traffic study done or completed?
That would be a question for the applicant, Commissioner,
Okay.
because they have to complete, I don't know if he wants to.
Is it okay if I approve?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, I appreciate the traffic concerns. So we've been in discussions with GDOT. I know this, based on what we're proposing, it doesn't trigger a traffic study for the rezoning hearing, but we've talked to GDOT significantly. We do plan on doing a traffic study. Part of the traffic study is nailing down exactly what the final uses are going to be and who the tenants are and things like that. Now, I will say in the traffic study and based on the uses we're proposing, a lot of the trips are going to be bypass trips. So it's people that are already passing by the site that are going to stop at the retail or the restaurant. And so that's a standard percentage that our traffic engineers will apply to that report. But like I said, we are planning on doing a study. It was going to be done during design with GDOT to review and staff to review. To answer your question about timing, getting counts and doing the report, it's probably 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But I would need to talk to my staff about confirming that timing.
So we probably have to.
Is it possible to make it a condition?
We can table it until we get a traffic report, but I do have another question before, when y'all are done.
Okay, you can go ahead, Mr. Chair.
No, go ahead. I got another question from the commission.
Okay. So I was just gonna say, I do know that I did a retail and community summit with a retail specialist in this particular area. I know within District 2, he basically recommended that we focus on this particular area, moving from a retail perspective as well as up off of the Brown Bridge, Salem Road area in that corridor. So these are the two in the District 2 area that you really want to focus on from a retail perspective. So I know that this area is prime and looking to be or have more retail in that particular facility because it's already retail there. And so it's looking to advance. So I guess just to make sure that our residents are at a level of ease and concern, I think if we could move forward in getting that traffic study done and completed so that we can present that to the residents so that they can be assured that that won't negatively impact this particular area, I think that may be helpful.
Okay.
If we can do that.
Makes
Thank
sense
you,
to me.
Commissioner
Thank
Sanders.
you, Mr. Chair.
Mhm.
Yes, my question is real simple. What type of restaurant are you proposing in that area?
Yeah, so there's a tenant's not nailed down at this time. We're talking to several different restaurants.
I think she mean, is it a sit-down restaurant or a
Fast
fast
food,
food
yeah.
restaurant?
Well, that's also, we're talking to all sorts of different restaurants right now. There's probably 20 to 25 restaurant tenants on the list. So that's something we're working through right now. You know, and part of this is some of these restaurants don't want to talk about the project until they know the rezoning is in place. So that hinders things a little bit for us in those conversations.
Can you give us a gist of, is it gonna be a fast food or a sit-down type style restaurant? 'Cause I
I'm
can't
going to
speak for
defer to Brian Lefkoff. He may be able to provide some more information if he can join us.
You sure can. Can you
Thank
state your name, please?
Yes, sir. My name is Brian Lefkoff. I'm with Ackerman and Company in Atlanta. I specialize in tenant representation with retailers, and I'm helping the developer, in this case, the petitioner, to develop the land. We're talking to a variety. So we are talking to fast food. And I'll give you some instances. We're talking to McDonald's. We're talking to Burger King. We're also talking to Chipotle, Culver's. We're also talking to Texas Roadhouse, some pizza, some Italian places, Little Mushroom, Johnny's. I won't give you the list because my group, if you'll bear with me 1 minute.
No, you're fine. I think we kind of get the
Yeah, so
get the gist of it.
we're talking to Logan's Roadhouse, Texas Roadhouse, those kind of concepts, because we know what the community has requested, sit-down restaurants. So we're trying to defer from the fast food, but we're also talking to Chipotle, QSRs. We certainly want something that will be beneficial to the community, not just another run-of-the-mill. So, hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Mason, was you making it in the form of a motion, please? You was, to table?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'd like to make a motion that we table the rezoning case REZ 22-000014 for 60 days to get the traffic study.
Yep, until we get the traffic study.
Until we get the traffic study.
Okay, it's been second. It's been motion by Commissioner Mason and second by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Stand table. Ms. Applewhite.
Thank you, Chairman. Our final case this evening is also a rezoning. It is REZ 22-000015, located at 46 and 50 Meadow Trail. Parcel sizes combined is approximately 44.26 acres. One parcel is 23 acres, and the second one is 21.26 acres. The tax ID numbers are 111-18 and 111-18C. The existing land use map is rural residential. The existing zoning is agricultural, and the proposed zoning is agricultural residential. It is located in the Alcovy watershed in District 5, and the owners are Robert Terry and Stephanie Dawn Moore, and our petitioner is Glenda Sells. And the Planning Commission, this was heard before the Planning Commission on October 25th, and they did recommend denial by a vote of 3 to 2. The applicant's intent is to rezone the 44.26 acres from A to AR for a proposed 19-lot residential subdivision. And as mentioned earlier, the site consists of two parcels totaling 44.26 acres. It is located in the southern portion of the River Cove Meadow subdivision off of Meadow Trail. It is considered miscellaneous land and not part of the River Cove subdivision. And currently zoned A. So the conclusion and findings. So the two tracts presented today, they're miscellaneous land and not part of either River Cove or the River Cove Meadows subdivision. In reviewing the BOC minutes, because these were zoned in the late 90s, early 2000s, it appeared that for every phase that was rezoned, then a preliminary plat was presented at the time. So these two lots are not vested in these two subdivisions. They are separate and not entitled to be automatically, at 2-acre lots or more. They do have a by right to be developed under the A zoning at a minimum of 10 acres per lot, and that would yield approximately about 4 lots with 44 acres. The applicant today is proposing to increase density to 2 acres per lot by requesting to rezone it to AR, which is agricultural residential, and to yield a total of 19 lots. The proposed zone change request to AR, it is consistent with the policies and intent of the comp plan because the future land use is already at rural residential. And the current zonings in the area are also AR as well as A. So should the board make this decision, however, to rezone, staff asks that recommended conditions be included. And the recommended conditions are as follows. So should the petition be approved by the Board of Commissioners, it should be approved AR, agricultural residential, conditional, subject to the owner's agreement to the following enumerated conditions. Where these conditions conflict with the stipulations and offerings contained in the letter of intent, these conditions, they shall supersede unless specifically stipulated by the Board of Commissioners. 1, to the owner's agreement to abide by the following. A, the applicant must prepare preliminary plat for review and approval. B, any required permits must be obtained from the Department of Development Services, the Transportation Department, Fire Marshal, before any construction or development on the property. Permits must be obtained from external agencies as well, such as the Water Authority and the GSWCC. So this is the location of the 2 parcels. They're just south of the River Cove and River Cove Meadows subdivisions. And here you see the subdivisions above it, so it'll be feeding into the subdivisions above if it were allowed to go through. This is currently zoned A, agricultural. Future land use is rural residential. It is in the Alcovy watershed. This was the initial site plan that the applicant proposed. However, so just showing the one road in, but at the Planning Commission meeting, a second concept or boundary survey was provided, which shows a different layout, same number of lots, however. This was also provided at the Planning Commission meeting. These are some of the proposed residences the applicant provided. And the homes they are proposing range anywhere from the 2,000s up to high 3,000s heated square feet. This is a letter from members in the community in opposition, and this is included in your packet along with other information that was provided from the community members. If there are any questions for staff, I believe the applicant is here, Chairman.
Thank you. We're going to open it up now.
Okay.
For our public hearing. Thank you. It is approximately 7:54. We're going to open it up now for the applicant and those that would like to speak in favor tonight. You have 10 minutes to do so. If you would, please come at this time. State your name and your address for the record, please.
It's okay. Can we pass out a packet that has the information that I'm going to go over with you guys tonight?
I'll take it. Thank you.
I'm representing Mr. Dwayne Sales and Glenda Sales that are the buyers for this piece of property. We feel like that we're bringing to you a development that is in keeping and will work very well in the existing subdivisions around it. That would be River Cove Meadows. In River Cove Meadows, there are 139 lots total. There are 88 lots, let me get my glasses. There are 83 lots between 2 to 3 acres. 8 of those lots sold in 2022. 7 of those lots sold in 2021. And 11 of those lots sold in 2020. This I bring to you because it is in keeping with a 2-acre minimum. And we feel like, well, and I know it's not, we don't feel like it, we know it. We just don't have the inventory over on the eastern side of the county. And I would have loved to have had something like this come before me when I was in your shoes on the western side of the county. Mr. Sales is a longtime builder, and he's built in 18 different counties. He's developed over 10,000 lots in all around, actually. So in your packets, I know you have a copy of the proposed subdivision, and it's very, very in keeping with what the area looks like so far. And within your packet, we've listed the names of the owners and the acreages that people have in the subdivision. And again, 83 of those lots are between 2 and 3 acres. We met on 10/14. We met with 10/4. We met with Leanne Long, and she represented the subdivision, and we tried to address everything that she brought up, which was we wanted to make sure that she asked if we would utilize the covenants in Phase 5, and that's what was used for our guidelines. We discussed the house plans and the sizes and shared with Leanne what they look like, copies of them. At the time, we shared that we have 2 builders already on board to build in the subdivision. These are not tract homes, they're not row houses, they're not small houses, they're custom-built homes that are in keeping too with what is built in River Cove Meadows. We met on, Mr. Sells did. 10/21, he met with Wayne Pugh, Mr. Wayne Pugh, and Mr. Don Heddick, and they discussed the buffer, which we have no plans to remove any of the trees that are between the project and I-20. And I think you have to admit that that would be a nice addition right there, you know, kind of the block I-20. And I think it's well thought out. That's what I'm trying to say. The floor plans we also gave for their review. The streets, while they were in the meeting, they actually contacted Mr. Sales' engineer and reworked the layout of the subdivision while they were there within the meeting. So I'm going to save some time for rebuttal. I was a little disappointed in the last meeting. There was some information that was just disingenuous to what we were really proposing, and mostly it being not custom home built. And I assure you, these will be custom built homes. And you know there's a need for it. You know, the county and taxpayers have spent a lot of money on the infrastructure going out to the eastern side of the county. I'm from the west side, and we're still waiting on Salem Road to be widened, and I've been there for 44 years. But my point is, we've got the infrastructure, we've got it prepared for some growth. And if we will just allow in certain areas, small subdivisions, custom built, before the tract builders get here, because as we know, they're everywhere. I think you'll be proud. I know I'm proud of these guys because they do build a great product. And I don't believe you'd be disappointed at all. Okay.
Thank you. So, excuse me, are you the only one speaking tonight in favor?
Mr. Sales is going to come up.
Okay, so I know you wanted to save some time. Are y'all tag teaming together?
Can we do that?
We have 436 left.
Okay.
So now if he take all 436, then
Let's
take your time.
have the opposition come forth and state their opposition to the project, and then if he can come up
Thank
and
you,
do a
ma'am.
rebuttal.
Okay, so
Does that work?
you want to reserve 436?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
We also allow 10 minutes for those that want to oppose tonight. You may come at this time. Please state your name and your address for the record, please. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, good evening. My name is Rhiannon Townley, and my husband and I own the property at 155 River Meadow Lane in the River Cove neighborhood where this development is proposed. I'm speaking to you tonight on behalf of 260 property owners in the River Cove community, many of whom are behind me tonight, and many of whom were just mentioned. River Cove residents, can you guys please raise your hands tonight? We, as a whole...
Guys.
Don't do that.
Hey.
Don't do that.
Brian, stop it for a second. Guys, listen, we don't do that here. This is a business meeting. We're going to handle it like that. Thank you. Start it back.
We as a whole strongly oppose the proposed zoning change from A to AR on Meadow Trail for 3 big reasons. 1, it is not suitable in the conformity of our nearby properties. 2, it's going to negatively impact all of our property values. And 3, it's going to be environmentally adverse to the neighborhood. This proposal and the planning and zoning staff are reporting that these parcels do not fall within the River Cove community, and it absolutely does. I've printed a map for you guys. It just doesn't fall under our protective covenants. I've done a title search, we've looked at the deeds, and it's missing on some plats, but it is physically inside of our community. This property location is 1.4 miles into the interior of River Cove on Meadow Trail to be exact. If you look at this map and the map I've provided, our neighborhood entrances are marked with stars. The neighborhood itself is the big red line. The proposed site is here in blue, and their road entrance is here at the red dot. It's inside of our neighborhood. This zoning change would allow a subdivision of smaller homes on smaller lot sizes in a higher density neighborhood to be placed 2 miles into the middle of our established neighborhood. Our neighborhood currently boasts high-quality custom-built homes on a variety of lot sizes, including large estate lots. We have trees, creeks, pastures, and horse farms. The River Cove average parcel size is 5.65 acres, not 2. Again, that's 5.65 acres is the average lot size for our community. That's triple than what this developer is proposing. Our community average is nowhere near this 2-acre minimum being proposed. The zoning request does not conform to existing properties in our neighborhood. We do have a small percentage of 2-acre lots, like she mentioned, but that's not indicative of our neighborhood as a whole. And we also failed to mention that some of those 2-acre lots are owned by the same property owner. So they actually have more than 2 acres. This zoning change would allow 19 homes crammed onto 2-acre lots and with narrow lot lines, which would give the development a track and row style look, which again, doesn't match our neighborhood. The proposed plat doesn't reflect existing required setbacks that are in our protective covenants. Those are 75 to 100 feet of road frontage with 30 feet on the side. Many of these lots in this proposal are only the minimum of 40-foot road frontage with 15 feet on each side. As a local real estate agent, I have seen developers enter existing Newton County neighborhoods and build an entirely different product than what is there on smaller lots just like this. And it is detrimental to the property values and the desirability of an already established neighborhood. It is also important to note that these 2 lots were just purchased by the current owners as estate lots. They are zoned A, which is 1 home per 10 acres. These lots are marketable and desirable without this zoning change, since many homes in our community are on tracts of the same or larger sizes. The current zoning, as it is, matches the neighborhood. This zoning change is also environmentally adverse to our community as well. The proposed micro subdivision sits directly adjacent to I-20. It will remove a barrier of trees that currently serves as a buffer from us and I-20. I have provided those maps with you to you as well with both proposed plats. You will see that we have estimated it to be 13.3 acres of woods there, and they do cover a majority of the proposed lots. I drew the tree line for you. That's 13.3 acres of woods that will no longer buffer our neighborhood from I-20 road noise. The county should definitely do a sound assessment of some sort before any clearing and development of this nature is allowed on this land. Finally, and most importantly, myself, along with 5 others behind me, are local realtors and brokers. Some of them have been in the industry longer than I've been alive. So I'm speaking from our combined experience as well as data from our local listing service when I say that the local real estate market currently does not support this proposal. There has been an extreme shift in our market due to the interest rates topping 7%. Economists are releasing reports daily of U.S. home prices plunging and as the housing market rapidly cools. In Newton County alone, the days on market time is up 117% from last year, and closed sales in Newton County are down 51% from last year. Demand is down, values are falling. According to the most recent National Home Builders Association report, home builder confidence is at a 40-year low. The last sale in River Cove that closed just yesterday underappraised by $30,000 due to falling values in the area. We know from data and experience that the market does not support selling and marketing 19 new tract-style homes at the proposed price point that you're being shown and told. This developer is not the end builder, so the plans you have received are hypothetical, with prices reflecting last year's demand. When these homes are not built, like what we are all being told, this $800,000 home doesn't sell, what happens to the rest of the 19 lots? Does an even cheaper product get built here? Does something even further from what we see in our community get built? Do the lots get sold to another large cookie-cutter production builder? Do they get foreclosed on? Mr. Sales is a developer, and a zoning change is premature because there is no end user and set plan for this, and no builder. I know you've all been working very hard to make sure that smart development happens in Newton County's future, and trying to avoid the overdevelopment and high-density mistakes that have been made in the past. Adding a neighborhood of tract homes on small 2-acre lots in the center of our custom-built home community that averages 5.65 acres of tract would be a huge mistake. One developer doesn't build custom homes. That's not what a custom home is. I built a custom home. I built it. I urge you to recognize how this zoning change and the uncertainties around it will negatively impact our community and vote for a full denial of this zoning request. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to oppose? Have a room. You guys want to save your minutes? Okay. Brian, can you? So, yeah, I am. It's 3:07. Yeah. So you're not going to rebuttal? You're going to speak now? Okay.
Cram all this in here.
You got 3:07, sir.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, good evening. My name is Patrick Elmenthaler. I live at 135 River Cove Meadows, the original property in River Cove Meadows. Prior to purchasing our property, my wife and I spoke with many family members of Pierce and Margie Klein. We wanted to understand our property and the surrounding area as Pierce envisioned it. It was crystal clear what his vision was. This proposal is trying to build a high-density neighborhood within a long...
Can you speak into the mic? They're having trouble hearing you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, sir.
How about this? Good?
Yeah.
All right. This proposal is trying to build a high-density neighborhood within a long-existing planned neighborhood. The original developer, Pierce Klein, was very vocal about his vision for the area. It was to be a very special neighborhood where large estate lots would be the focal point. His own son, Charles Klein, chose not to rezone and develop this land. Instead, he subdivided the last large tract into 3 estate lots to continue his father's vision. This proposal does not match the surrounding neighborhood. The current owners, Terry and Stephanie Moore, would appear to agree as they approved the Georgia MLS listing for the second parcel, stating, quote, "This property is located within the River Cove Meadows subdivision, which is a beautiful subdivision with 3+ acre lots," unquote. As we've stated, all the neighborhood property values would be negatively impacted by this proposal. Skip through all this stuff. The current zoning of this property allows for the parcels to be marketed as highly sought-after estate lots. Parcel 2 has been marketed since February 5th of this year by the current owners. It has been under contract twice. The average listing time to contract has been only 6 weeks. This is definitive proof that there's a very high demand for estate lots within River Cove. The first parcel has never been listed for sale by the current owners, according to Georgia MLS records. I fail to understand how the applicants can state, quote, "The property as it stands, agricultural zoning, has not proven to be profitable as it stands," unquote, if the second parcel has averaged 6 weeks to contract and the first parcel has never been marketed at all. I believe allowing this zoning change will put undue pressure upon the neighborhood infrastructure. 19 new high-density lots will bring at least 2 vehicles per household. 38 new vehicles will make a minimum of 76 daily trips through an already treacherous road system within River Cove. There are no sidewalks. While the out-of-town developer stands to make a large profit on this project, is it worth the safety of the children who ride bikes and elderly couples who take daily walks in River Cove? Or would it be best to keep the current zoning in place and market the lots as estates so the current owners can still make a profit? This proposal will also bring 19 septic tanks to a very small area. The septic fields will drain directly into each adjacent lot and onto DOT property. This egregious amount of sewage will have a detrimental effect on the surrounding area. This will also negatively impact Interstate 20. The impact would be the immense amount of watershed that would be pouring onto the roadway. I-20 is directly downhill from 8 of the proposed lots. By removing the vast tree line, current grading, and shifting runoff, Interstate 20 westbound would be subject to major pooling and dangerous conditions to the thousands of vehicles traveling through the county every day. In closing, I found no individual or family other than the out-of-town profiteers applying for this zoning change that support this in any way. I would implore each of you to support opposing this application. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That portion of both public hearing is closed. Brian, if you can revert back to, thank you, sir. You guys have 4 minutes and 36 seconds to rebuttal.
Thank y'all. I am Dwayne Sales, the big bad out-of-town developer, son of the applicant. Guys, I don't want to do anything in this county that's not good for the county. It's great for the county. That's why we're proposing to do it. I develop in Oconee County now. I develop to and sell to y'all's workers. Y'all's workers come to my county because I have what they need. Y'all don't have what they need. This kind of subdivision is what y'all were looking for and need. The new ribbon cutting where y'all just had that, where y'all just had the ribbon cutting, those people are going to need this kind of housing. A lot of the things they brought up is boisterous, and I appreciate that they have concerns, but I met with them. I met with their Architectural Control Committee and met all of their wants and needs. I told them I'd adopt their Phase 5, which is the phase they wanted me to adopt their covenants. I said I would do that. The young lady that spoke that I'm so far back into the subdivisions, further back in the subdivision than I am. That's ridiculous points. Most of the points they made were ridiculous. Me flooding I-20. I can't get water to I-20 from these lots. It's impossible. And I definitely will have a water plan with my development. It's just smart growth for the community, and that's why I'm here and that's why I'm doing that. There's the small lots. I'm on 2-acre lots. They talk about septic tanks. I have great soils. They have been all checked out. We have great soils there. There won't be any sewage running off onto other lots. That's ridiculous. Don't have row housing. Y'all see from that, they said I had 40-foot wide lots. Y'all see that the lots are not 40-foot wide. Y'all just fed a lot of misinformation in the opposition, and I don't understand the opposition, honestly. They said it would decrease the value of their homes. It definitely will increase the value of their homes. There's just no reason for the opposition to be where they're at with it. I get it that some of the folks illegally trespass on the land and ride four-wheelers, but that's really not what we're providing the land for. My seller is not really wanting them to ride their four-wheelers on his land. I hate that'll go away from them, but it's not fair to keep him bound to that land because of that. It's just we want to do what's best for the community, and I think that's what we're doing for this development. They say that I'm not an end user. I have my builders in place. We're building these homes. That's what we're going to do with them. They're concerned about them going back to the bank. As Suzette mentioned, y'all, I've developed over 10,000 lots. No lot has ever went back to a bank. We will be developing with cash. There won't be a bank involved with this. It is a safe investment for me. They talk about their houses won't sell. You know, Dave Ramsey, I know y'all appreciate his wisdom. He says that it's the time to buy. We'll refinance later, but it's the time to buy, which means it's the time to build. It'll take me a year or more longer to get this development to completion. It'll then take a year to develop the houses. This market won't be where it's at now. But if I had houses ready to sell, ready today, I could sell every one of them. I don't have any doubts of that. So we appreciate y'all's time and y'all's consideration. Suzanne, is there any more you wanted to add?
Just want to mention one more time. In your packet, it's going to show you the breakdown of the lot sizes. Leanne met with us, and we went over all of that. Brianna has a 2-acre lot, 2.11.
Hey guys, listen, ma'am.
Yeah, okay.
Hey,
Well, I'm just saying,
address the
pointing out,
board, address the
Ronnie
board.
has 2, you know, so that's in your packet for you to see and go through. Not pointing fingers at anybody, but I do not like my integrity being questioned on what I'm saying. You know, I'm not up here misrepresenting anybody. We are telling you exactly what we're going to build, you know, what size it's going to be, and the quality that it's going to be. And we need it. And we've got a $5 billion plant just up the road. What got ribbon cutting today? All of this economic growth is coming to us, and we don't have anywhere to put these folks. And I don't believe any realtor would stand up here and say that there is not anybody looking for this price house or this size lot. And I just hope you'll consider it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That portion of our public hearing is closed. Ms. Applewhite, if you would, please come on back up. Commissioner Cowan.
Quick question for our attorney. I do live in this subdivision. Is it going to be a conflict? For me to make the motion?
Guys.
All right, I'm sorry. I got to talk louder. I live in this subdivision, and I want to make sure, is there a conflict if I make any motions on this?
If you believe you have a financial interest
No.
in the outcome of this vote, then it would be improper for you to proceed.
Okay. Then I'd like to make a motion that we approve what the planning commission did and deny this zoning.
Second. It's been motioned by Commissioner Cowan that we deny this zoning, and it's been seconded by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Can you state your reason for abstaining?
Well, my reason is that I just haven't had enough information given to me concerning this particular subdivision.
Thank you. It's stand denied, 4-1, one extension.
Thank you, Chairman.
Guys, please remember that we're still in our board meeting. Guys, we are still inside the board meeting.
Mr. Chair, the next item on the agenda is item number 9. It's our consent agenda. We do have 2 special mentions, the Board of Zoning Appeals for appointments, Darren Wiggins for District 2, Newton County Planning Commission, Alan Millhouse also for District 2.
Thank you so much. Mr. Wiggins, are you here tonight? Neither one is here? Well, we always want to say thank you for your willingness to serve this community. I understand, I know one of them has been serving for quite a while, so thank you again for your service to this community. Commissioner, I seek a motion that we approve the consent agenda, please. Can I get a second? Second. Thank you. It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Cowan. Any discussion? Commissioner Henderson.
Mr. Chair, I have just, my discussion here is that there, most time during the year we appoint several people to each district. But I'm concerned that in some of the districts that we appoint our appointments, they don't get even gas fare in order to go back and forth to the meeting. They don't get unlike some, they don't get a little stipends or whatever for attending the meeting. I think that's something that our interim county manager at this point need to look at. And this have been some of the complaints that I've heard, and I just want to share it with the board.
Thank you, sir. Any more discussion? All in favor? Thank you. 5-0.
Mr. Chair, the next item we have on the agenda is item number 10. Items for board discussion and consideration. We're having our presenter, Ms. Frida Reed of Senior Services. She's the director. Senior Services is requesting approval of fiscal year 2023 Aging Services contract.
Thank you. Mr. Sims.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So tonight, our Senior Services Director, Ms. Reed, could not be with us while I'm presenting this particular item. We are requesting for board approval to approve the annual contract from Northeast Georgia Regional Commission Area Agency on Aging, federal and state funding allocated for food and services. Contract is for the period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. The total amount of the contract is $355,527.97. As far as the amount from the county, there's a small match amount from the county. And that amount is $18,177.40.
Thank you.
The contract, if I may add, it covers for meals, supportive services, caregiver services, and family caregiving support.
Thank you. Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the senior service at this point, I think, is in District 4. And I make a motion to approve as stated by the county manager.
Thank you, sir. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, the next item we have on the agenda is item number 10A, discussion and consideration for the West Side Youth Facility location.
Thank you. Mr. Sims.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in our last board meeting, we had discussion regarding our West Side Youth Facility. At that particular meeting, we had our project manager, Mr. Prime, present 8 proposed sites. The chairman also asked for all of us to take the proposed sites, to kind of review the sites and come back. What we are asking tonight is to make a decision regarding this matter. I also asked our project manager, Mr. Prime, based on the 8 sites, I thought that was too many to bring before you all, and we needed to kind of narrow it down. So he, based on his professional recommendation, narrowed it down to 2 particular sites, or necessarily 3. One of the sites that he had initially recommended, that site is no longer available, so he provided 2 additional sites, as well as the 3rd site that he recommended is actually would have been the 4th site coming before you all. He's also here to kind of go over in details if you have questions, but what we're asking tonight is some direction from the board on how we want to move forward. In the discussion, there was regarding a West Side facility, and West Side consisted of 3 districts, District 2, District 3, as well as District 4, and we thought it would be best to make sure that we had an initial meeting those particular districts represented as far as proposed site locations. Tonight, we again want some kind of directions on moving forward with our West Side Youth Facility.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Sanders, you got a question?
Thank you so much for this information. It's probably Jeff to come up as well. The 3 sites that he submitted, there's 2 in District 2 and 1 in District 3. The one where he put honorable mention, which is kind of concerning to me, is actually in District 2. That's not a District 3 site. That's the one for the Boys and Girls Club, which just closed on September 30th. And so that's what's also shocking to me as well, because this is a new property they just acquired, and it's not even owned by the Boys and Girls Club. It's owned by DPM LLC or something, another company or entities, because I looked it up. And I actually went by the property, and where it's located is zoned for a church that used to be owned by an old church. And there is no area where it's located. It's safe enough for the kids to go to. It's on a busy highway. I actually sat there for about 5 minutes and saw nothing but 18-wheelers speed through and traffic speed straight through there, and I videotaped it as well. This is not a safe location. We had the feedback from those in District 3 where we had the meeting with the parents, and one of the things they mentioned is they wanted this in a walkable, bikeable area with majority of the kids to where they can get to with easy access. Because a lot of the parents may not have transportation to get these kids to this certain venue, especially after school, and so that is a huge issue. And it also concerned me that there's only 1 property in District 3 on this list.
Thank you. Anyone, any more questions?
No.
So, can you tell us a little bit about where these properties are, so we'll know?
I can. So just to kind of reiterate, originally my number 1 ranked site was the Pulte site, which was basically split between Districts 2 and 3. I liked it because it was central to that high population density area. It was located and surrounded by neighborhoods, and it also had the West Side Precinct, which was right next by, and so forth. So there's a lot of support there. But since our last meeting, they asked to start construction out there, unbeknownst to us. So we weren't aware that they were going to be moving forward, so that site went off. The second site, which is District 2, the candidate site for Crescent Circle, what we like about that piece of property is it is central in the high population density area, right off of Brownsbridge Road. And it's already got some development infrastructure already in place. It's got some roads and some utilities that are in place. And they even had done some clearing on the back tract that if you connected a road system back to that, it would connect to another neighborhood, which would connect you all the way over to a series of other larger neighborhoods. So it just gave you an opportunity to have a lot of walkability for the students. And I want to back up for a second. There isn't a single site in this candidate list that is not going to require some children to have to be transported there. There's no way to locate a piece of property where everybody can walk to it. So the idea was, what are the ones that give you the most opportunity for a higher population of housing area? District 3, the candidate site to the Wright Monk property, it's on the upper end of the high population density circle, but it is right off of Fairview. It has good access, and it has access to a lot of neighborhoods around it, and it also has a willing seller. So that's positive for it as well. I called it honorable mention because, as Jarvis had said, the county manager, it was number 4 on the list. So, but it kind of eked its way up into the top 3. But I wanted to call it honorable mention because, in my humble opinion, that piece of property is kind of off to the side, not well connected to a series of neighborhoods. But, you know, if you, as the elected body, wanted to consider the fact that you have a willing partner in the Boys and Girls Club and they own the property and they're willing to help you in some kind of partnership, then that would be something for you guys to consider. But from a site perspective, it would not have ranked in the top 3 if I had the other ones available. Hopefully that answers the questions.
Okay. Commissioner Sanders.
I do know that the Boys and, well, it's not owned by the Boys and Girls Club, I don't know why it's put the Boys and Girls Club on here, but that property is not even an acre. I looked that up. So can you give me the acreage on, I know the District 3 property is 61 acres, to where it could be built out, not only just for the West Side Youth Facility, but also for the community itself. As Parks and Recs also mentioned, and you also mentioned to me as well, to have the ball fields and so forth, and all of that can be used with Parks and Rec. All the other facilities are placed on highways. That is my concern. When you have 18-wheelers coming up streets, and you have traffic, and there is no plan for sidewalks. We do know on Fairview Road that our congressman gave us $800,000 to build walkable, bikeable sidewalks, and it surrounds 4 schools to where children now are walking to those schools and they can walk to that community and it's easy access. And it does cater to a lot of kids. Now, I do agree, you said you can't cater to everybody, but we need to look at the area where it's going to cater mostly to, and it's high density, and the majority of kids can go to that area. And that's what we're looking at, a place that can be buildable. You could do a phase 1, phase 2, if you want to add on the senior services. That was a talk you and I had. You brought me to a meeting with senior services. It's enough property to build senior services on there. There is so much can be built on that area, and we do have the funding. It's not that we don't have it. And as we stated, District 3 has no projects. There is nothing in that district at all. And so to take something for that, and as I stated, when I applied for that grant, I applied for $4 million in District 3 to be able to apply it in the district. And I had to put statistics and everything for that district.
Thank you. Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for presenting these to us as well. Do we know, will we have to actually purchase the land in all 3 of these locations?
So the District 2 candidate site for Crescent Circle, yes, that would have to be purchased. And the District 3 candidate 2 Wright Monk property would have to be purchased. I really have no idea about the District 3 candidates, District 2 candidate site 5 for Boys and Girls Club. But more than likely, they would have to be some type of partnership with them on developing that property for sure.
Okay. So with that being said, knowing that we're going to have to purchase some property,
right.
would it be best, and maybe this is something Patrick can actually state to us as well, would it be best to actually be able to make a decision now, or do we need to make this decision in executive session once we find out how much these land expenses are going to cost?
Well, it's kind of difficult to negotiate the purchase of a piece of property if you might not buy it, right? So, I mean, I think there is a chicken and the egg thing here. Do you want to identify a property and then go out and buy it, or do you want to negotiate purchase prices and then choose one? I think you could do it either way. As it is today, as you all are all aware, we have begun negotiations on one of the parcels. The other two have not had any meaningful discussions. There have been some preliminary discussions with respect to the Boys and Girls Club property, but they weren't really very meaningful. They were really preliminary. So the board could do it either way it chooses to do it. I think you're going to have to be flexible in your site selection if you don't know what the purchase price is. If one of them is just unacceptable, you may have to be prepared to punt down to the next one.
So with that being said, I think it would be great for the board to basically, I guess, do a land evaluation on all of these properties, see what the cost is going to be in an executive session. Since we can't discuss that in a public meeting, we can only discuss land acquisition in the executive session. So I believe that we need to actually discuss these particular properties that you narrowed it down to in an executive session. We need to find out from staff how much these properties are going to cost each one. And basically, and I don't know, Patrick, you can tell me, I know we have done some work on one of them. If we're going to do work on the other ones, find out what the land value is for those, maybe do an offer and kind of see what we're going to get on all three of these properties. So I think that's what this board should do before we make a final decision, because we want to make sure that we are keeping our options open.
I would always recommend, if you are embarking on buying land, you begin with an appraisal.
Correct. So I would rather do the appraisal first. Correct. Right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Patrick, how much did the appraisal cost for that land that we just gave you approval to move forward with?
I'm not sure I remember, probably $1,500, $2,500. I'm guessing that. I don't really recall.
See, the issue that's happening here, the board has already given our county attorney to move forward with this property for the West Side Youth Facility. We also gave him approval to submit an offer for the West Side Youth Facility. They came back with a counter offer and waiting for us to move forward. When we were in executive session, I can't speak in detail, but an order was given to provide the lands that were presented to you and you as well, Mr. County Manager. We actually spoke about this on the phone, and that was the ones that was presented to me from Jeff and, Jeff actually submitted, and they were all in District 3. Then when we came to the meeting, we had District 2 and District 4 on the list, and that wasn't even the order given to our county manager. It wasn't the order that was given, believe me, I know.
Guys, we're not going, listen, we're
It
not going to do
wasn't the
that.
order given to our county manager. And so, I don't understand what the fight is. I keep asking, did somebody owe favors to the Boys and Girls Club or the previous commissioner? I don't know, somebody let me know. Because the community has said they don't want it. They want to have their own facility. They have said it. The children have stated they have attended the Boys and Girls Club, and they didn't like it. So why are we forcing this to the community? We gave an order to our county manager to move forward. The person took their property off the market to move forward. So now it's an issue. And then I'm looking at this, there was only one property presented in District 3. The other two are in another district. The other two are in another district. I had to go drive out there myself and ask for the address to find out it was not in District 3. That's ridiculous.
Commissioner Henderson, then Commissioner Mason. Yes,
Thank you. You know, I've been listening and you know, I've been looking at other properties that has presented, and I keep going back to the same piece of property, and that was the Monk property, or family property, whatsoever. And I had served on the recreation board for about 24, 25 years, and we really had nothing over in that way, nothing at all. Saying we had nothing over in District 2, and so way back when, I hate to talk about old days, we made sure that property was set aside, enough property to really build something really nice for the community, and that they could look towards as far as future use. Now, I've heard that the basketball courts in District 2 had cat fences around it, and I think you're right, because if you don't, they'll play basketball all night long, and they'll play it in the dark. I have to go and make sure over in Nelson Heights that we close it and make sure nobody's there, and make sure we put a lock on it. So I had, at least I thought the community had envisioned of acreage, several acres tract. I thought in terms of another city pond over that way where you could play basketball, maybe have a football field, etc., and other amenities that the citizens that came over to Turner Lake, and they had stuck that little card in that box as far as what type of recreation that they may want in that particular area. And so I mean, I don't see why what we're fighting about. You know, typically if a commissioner wanted, whatever he may want it, I use me for an example, wanted a tot lot, playground, swing set, then I'm not gonna go there because I said I'm just gonna be chill. Then they respected the commissioner's point of view, what the constituents in that particular area may want it, even though we all knew this for everybody in Newton County. So I agree with Commissioner Cowan, maybe, who had suggested that why don't, for that property, I hope, that we could get the recreation come up with a plan of stuff where they want to be. Right at this point, I would not like to have a Boys and Girls Club. I think the recreation department that we have here in Newton County is the best in the United States. And I think that it should remain that way. I think it should be ran, whatever recreation property we have, that it should be ran by our recreation department. And I've had a little bit of dealing with them. I know with the why. And sometimes they tell you stuff, and after the building is built, you don't get what they ask for. If they say they won't give scholarship to kids, learn them how to swim the Y over here on Newton Drive. And they took 10 kids over there, and after that, there were no more scholarships. And now kids was in the same place that they were at for the ones that are underserved. So hey, let's get this together, and I hope, and build a nice park on that 6 acre total. God is not gonna give us any more property. Let's take advantage of that. And I think if we could look back, then we'll see that we made a good decision as far as purchasing that property for Newton County. Thank you, Mr. C.
Commissioner Mason, and then Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just kind of want to put it out there because I don't think this is actually being stated as of yet. I know that it is being stated that there is nothing in a specific district. I don't know if the residents are aware or if they have voted already, but there is a $3.4 million request for a West Side Community Park that has been slated to be in a district that states that there is nothing in that particular district at all. So the objective is if and when SPLOST passes, we now will be able to move forward with a $3.4 million park for the West Side Community Park in a specific district that's stating that there is nothing there at all. So I want our residents to know that this board is not excluding any district at all. What we're trying to do is we're trying to prioritize projects. Now, it will be great that one day we have a facility in all 5 districts. That would be amazing. That would be wonderful. It would be great that we have a swimming pool in all 5 districts. That would be great. But I think what we're trying to do right now is prioritize where's the highest density so that we can put it there. I don't think anyone on the board is sold on a specific location or a specific piece of property, to my knowledge and to my understanding. But I don't think we should say, hey, let's say it's going to be in this particular location. Well, what if that location isn't as feasible? What if that location doesn't have the things that we need? What if we're going to spend more money on that location than we would another location? And so I think it is up to this board to look at, we talk about how much we spend money. Okay, well, let's look at that now. How much are we going to spend? Do we have some options where we can actually spend dollars that may be less than another property? So let's look at all of those factors versus saying I'm sold on one particular location and that's it. We were in an executive session. We, as the board, did suggest and recommend that the staff go back and present us with options. Now, everybody was in that executive session. That is exactly what the staff did. They came back and provided us with options. So for those who were in the executive session that didn't hear that, I don't know why they didn't hear that, but that was the consensus of the entire board, and the staff did exactly what we asked them to do. So with that being said, I'd personally like to make a motion that we move into an executive session, or if we have staff to go back and do an evaluation of these lands, these options, and then we can go into an executive session to discuss that, these land options, these evaluations. So that's my motion today.
Is there a second? It's been motioned by Commissioner Mason that we give a direction to the staff to go back and evaluate these properties, and it's been seconded by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanders.
Thank you so much. Skate park, phase 1, phase 2 is currently being built. Splash pad, baseball field, swings, 3 playgrounds, walking trails. You know where that's located? In District 2. He's currently having a skate park that's currently being built. I'm fighting for a district that has nothing. And let's go back. The $3.5 million he's speaking on is for a park that's on Splash that may or may not pass. So if it don't pass, guess what? We have nothing. We're back to zero. So what are we fighting for when you have all of this in your community? Where's the one new? Where's the equality? You have all of this in your district, but yet you're still fighting against a district that has nothing. That is ludicrous.
Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, no matter what the selection is, we're going to have to know the economic feasibility of if we choose one tonight, we'd have to know the economic.
Hey guys, y'all listen.
So, but I think my question is, and I think I had it last time, and I don't think we got it answered. We had some property that was about to be donated, and I believe I heard that was back on the table. Is that property still, is that one of these 3?
That's what they came up and said they did not want.
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry.
Wait a minute.
My apologies. I apologize.
Patrick.
There were some very preliminary discussions about the Boys and Girls Club property, the property that's referred to as Boys and Girls Club. That was what was mentioned at the last meeting.
And that's this honorable mention property?
I believe it is.
And so what's the name of that property right now?
I don't know. I've not gone back.
There was a gentleman's name.
Addison.
No, that's not the same property. It's not the same property.
Guys, listen. Y'all, listen, what we gonna do, hold on for a second. We gonna stay in order or we gonna go home. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna stay in order or we gonna go home. Hey, if y'all wanna go home, hey, let's go home. But we're gonna do this right, or we ain't gonna do it at all. Jeff Prime, can you tell us which, what location is this, Boys and Girls Club's property? Is this the John Addison property?
No, sir. This property that is currently listed as the Boys and Girls property is located at 13634 Brown Bridge Road, 17.4 acres, and it was previously owned by a church. And they have there's a remnant of a home on part of the property, and then they have their trailers listed right there.
Okay, okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, all right, so the Addison property is it was just preliminary and never materialized.
That's right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Sanders.
And I forgot to mention, looking up that site you just mentioned, is also potential flood area. They're building a bridge currently that already has easement right there. In that area, they're trying to fix that bridge. So I looked it up today. You can see all that information. It's actually at the bottom of it when you pull the information to find out that the owner is really not the Boys and Girls Club that owns it. It's a company, a holding company that owns the property. It has all that information at the bottom.
Commissioner Henderson and then Commissioner Mason. Guys, you know what we're gonna do tonight? Let's pause for a second. We're gonna clear this all up tonight. We're gonna find out tonight whether we're gonna partner with the Boys and Girls Club or we're gonna move in a different direction. Because we keep throwing out different stuff and we just throwing stuff against the wall and ain't nothing sticking and none of it makes sense. So we need to find out which direction we going in. If we're gonna partner with the Boys and Girls Club, we're gonna partner with them. If we're not gonna partner with them, then we're not gonna partner with them. But we need to make that clear understanding tonight. Commissioner Henderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a substitute motion that we consider the Suzette Mont property as far as putting the west side.
I got you. Can I get Commissioner Henderson made a substitute motion that we consider the Suzette Mont property in District 3 for the West Side Youth Facility, and been seconded by Commissioner Sanders. Any discussion? Commissioner, he got you first. Commissioner Edwards, go ahead.
All right, so are we at liberty to discuss the price? Have we reached an agreement?
We've not. If you vote right now to designate that site, then I'm going to recommend we immediately go into executive session, discuss price, and I can continue with those negotiations tomorrow.
All right, so.
I mean, we know a range. So in executive session, I can give you a range.
I don't know the prices of the other properties. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It's on there. You, go ahead, Commissioner Henderson.
Look, I love each and every one of you, and we have discussed this, and there got to be a decision made on, I think, this property, because we had looked at it, talked about it, instructed our county attorney, Patrick, to go out and do a hold or some type of negotiations on this particular piece of property. Now, in my opinion, it don't mean that much, but I'm just throwing it out anyway. In my opinion, that's the best piece of property. It gives a whole lot of future use as far as Newton County. It gives additional place. And it will be ran, if it's done, by our recreation department. I don't know why we might want more than just our rec overseeing property here in Newton County or having something. That's why it was created, to manage our property, county property, and give our kids something to do. And I think they've been doing an excellent job under the circumstances. So, hey, we need to just move forward on this, and so we can go home and rest.
Thank you. You have some. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, y'all are the most frustrating people I've ever been around.
There's an easy way to do this.
and we've got the Boys and Girls Club that's an issue. We have voted to support them. We also, and I remember from when I was personnel director with the city, talking with our recreation people, which who are here, and Newton County suffers from a lack of adequate football fields, I believe, is what we talked about 10 years ago or more. I don't know if they've added any more or not. I don't think we have. But we do have a lot of football in this county, and we do have some talented people that play. I would suggest that we put together a vision and a plan that would incorporate all this together. You know, I don't think we ought to have the Boys and Girls Club over here and then look at buying something over here. We can actually combine those two options together and make the thing work. Right now, this is a frustrating conversation with me. And I would suggest that if we, I think there's some merit to everything that everybody has suggested tonight. But we can fix this problem, but you gotta quit looking at my area, this district, this thing like that. The property that Commissioner Sanders has suggested is a good piece of property for that area. There are some other options out there that we've looked at, but this fighting over who does what with the Boys and Girls Club and who does what with recreation, that's ridiculous. That's an easy fix. And I just think our discussions ought to be in executive session to discuss where we're going to go with our recreation board, what they would like to see. Okay? And again, it worked out well with the Spring Hill people. When I talked to them, I let them make up their minds what they wanted. And I think we're trying to impose a vision on somebody that may not be what we need or whatever. But I do think, you know, you ought to incorporate recreations because they're going to be ones that have to maintain it, manage it, and staff it, and how they're going to handle it. So we can't just do things in a bubble. It's got to be done as a consistent plan. That's my thoughts.
Again, guys, we have to identify the direction that we're going in, whether we're going to partner with the Boys and Girls Club or whether we're not. You voted to, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to remind you, you voted to partner with the Boys and Girls Club. So let me finish. So you voted to partner with the Boys and Girls Club. I'm sorry. I know what it was. But so we need to identify which direction we're going in. Again, I agree with Commissioner Calvin said. Guys, because if not, we're going to keep going around in circles and circles and circles, and we're not going to ever get anything done. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I just want to, which one, me or?
Yeah, you. Go ahead.
Just to clear up with Commissioner Cowan, we actually had that conversation. I was pulled in those conversations with Parks and Rec already. So those conversations have already been had about moving forward with various things. Okay. But this conversation shouldn't be about partnering with Boys and Girls Club. It was supposed to be selecting property, because the first issue was not having it in the subdivision. It went from not wanting it in the subdivision and finding more land in District 3. That was the comment. You could pull the recordings on YouTube. Matter of fact, I already have them lined up. I could email them all to you. I put them in an email just in case somebody don't tell the truth. But it said in there, we don't want to have this property in a subdivision. We got to go find other property in District 3. At the town hall where myself, Jeff, Parks and Rec, and our county manager was, District 3, and Commissioner Henderson was there, Those residents all said, go buy property in District 3. You guys requested for me to have that town hall in District 3 for this West Side Youth Facility. Now we're reneging on everything y'all said? It's on tape.
Commissioner Henderson.
Well, only thing in my substitute motion, my good friend, he could probably change if he wanted to, was to identify the property. And then if at some point, if the board chooses to, and they can always do what the board wants to do, is talk about what maybe a boys, give it to the community and see whether or not they wanted a Boys and Girls Club on that property. If we chose to use those, or what, 25 acres or whatever amount that is. But I was just going to say this. The Allison property and the 11 acres owned by the county, I originally did in 2016. But the Trelawney subdivision, I think the Homeowner Association president, she was here earlier and spoke a little bit about it. They told me that they didn't want it over. They didn't want no park in their community until there was a plan, if they wanted one then, about and invite the resident there, and in order to do something about it. Well, it was adjoined to the Mr. Allison property, which I think is a good piece of property. I think, you know, if they did one, they should consider naming it after Miss Allison, Mr. Allison's mother, because I think that's good. And looking at the history, it'd be good. But they didn't want it, and they told me they didn't want it. They had a meeting just last Saturday, Sunday evening, and they told me straight up, look on the webpage, you see what they said. They said, we don't want it at this time. And they would also want to tell me, I didn't ask them, and I invited everybody there, and they said, give Commissioner Sanders her money and build something over in District 3. That's what these people said over that way. Now, I'm just relaying what they said. I'm just their commissioner, and I relay what they kind of tell me. And the whole objective for me is to listen to my constituents and let them permanent right away. They also went on to say at the meeting, look at it for yourself. And you guess you always gonna have somebody, you know, kind of want to take over. But glory be to God, they didn't take over. They also said that we have the best recreation department in the whole wide world, and I don't see why we want to, you know, kind of, why we want to mess with it. And I think Dwayne is doing a very excellent job. So, come on, you guys, just go ahead and approve this piece of property, hopefully, or whatever you want to do, and so we can move on.
All in favor? This is for the Suzette Monk's property. All in favor of moving forward with the Suzette Monk's property. That's what Commissioner Henderson's motion was. All opposed? You gotta make a decision, sir.
I thought we were going to executive session to discuss this.
If y'all designate this property, then we go and discuss it. That's.
I'm sorry, what?
You've got a motion right now to just designate this as the property to pursue, and if you do, we'll go to executive session, discuss pricing, and then I'll move forward to that. Because y'all got to set some boundaries on pricing.
Again, all in favor of buying the Suzette Monk's property? All opposed?
I'm not necessarily opposed to it.
Sir, it's either one.
I want to get the plans together first. That's all I'm asking. Get the vision out there.
There's a motion on the floor.
I haven't seen
Sir, you want to abstain?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay. I break the tie. I oppose. Thank you. Yeah, well, yeah. Now go back to the original motion.
Let's go back to the original motion, which is what you want. Yes.
So Commissioner Mason's motion was to give staff the opportunity to go back and research these properties and bring it back before the board, the findings. It was seconded by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner, he got you.
Okay.
Commissioner Edwards.
Well, with this assessment, further assessment, we need to know the feasibility in terms of price on all three. We have not ruled out a single piece of property here tonight. I need to know, we don't know what we can afford. I've said that 3 times, I'm sure, but we don't know what we can afford yet. So, it may very well be either of these, any of these three could be picked for the next West Side Youth Facility, but we need to know or get in a price range, and that may take executive session to get that whole thing kicked off. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner
Me
Calvin.
too, I have not. Commissioner Sanders says she's met with Parks and Recreation. I haven't seen anything from them as far as a suitable plan or.
Guys, listen.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying
Go
that
ahead.
before you go and buy something, you ought to have a plan in place. You ought not just go buy stuff because you want to buy it. You ought to have a real use in mind of what it's going to be, how it's going to be done. That's all I'm asking. Let's don't get the cart before the horse.
Okay, so that's what Jeff has been instructed to do.
Okay.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Passed 3-2. Thank you, sir.
Chairman,
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
the next item we have is number 11. The presenter is Mr. Chester Clegg, Transportation Director. Public Works is requesting VOC to approve the right-of-way settlement agreements for the proposed road improvements on Davis Ford Road. Additional right-of-way is needed to make necessary improvements. All 4 property owners have agreed to donate the necessary right-of-way to the county.
Guys, let me remind you that we are still in the board meeting. Thank you. Chester, if you would, please come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
We have been working on this project, road improvement at Davis Ford Road for about a year and a half, getting the engineering done, working on right-of-way. We've got settlement agreements from 4 property owners. The rest of the property on one side of the road is owned by the county, so that's one reason why we chose this particular dirt road to pave. Basically, we're trying to systematically get our dirt roads paved. Cuts down on maintenance and makes everybody happy. So I'm requesting that the board approve the 4 settlement agreements so that our county attorney can move forward with closing on those right-of-way parcels.
Thank you. Guys, let's take a motion, please.
So moved as stated by the county transportation director.
Second. It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0. Mr.
We do have, Mr. Chester has one more presentation, number 12. Public Works is requesting VOC approval to grant 4 separate easements to the city of Covington for the installation of a 5-mile gravity sewer main. That's item number 12.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The city of Covington has a very long and large sewer main they'd like to install across county property. There are 4 parcels that the county owns that are involved. I've been working with Jeff Strickland on reviewing those. He has reviewed the plats, and so I'm asking that the board approve the granting of those easements to the city of Covington across county property so that they can install that sewer line.
Thank you, sir. Let's take a motion, please.
Quick question. Where exactly is that sewer line?
It runs up the Alcovey River and then runs up all the way, I believe, up to Flat Rock Road, up that direction. So, let's see, the packet, we had a map. Let's see here.
That's the city's property, or
it runs up.
It's going to connect to their line. They're going to connect to their line.
It's kind of hard to see, but it's that page right there. but it runs up the river, across 278, across I-20, and then on up. I believe it's right there close to, it goes past SKC, I believe.
Yep.
And then up that direction.
This is a request from the city, right?
The city's requesting, they had to get easements from other property owners as well, and it just happens that the county owns these. We own a lot of property of the floodplain property and wetland property along the river, and that's why we're getting involved in this.
Seek a motion, please.
So moved. Second.
It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Cowan. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 5. Any opposed? It passes 4-1.
And Chairman, we do have one last item, item number 13, with Mr. Chester again. Public Works is requesting BOC approval to submit the road resurfacing project list to GDOT for 2023 LMIG funding.
Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Every year, I come to the board about this time and request approval of a list of roads that we'd like to resurface next year under the LMIG program. And we're getting about $1.4 million from GDOT next year. And I had submitted a list about a week and a half or so ago to the board to look at, and I hope you had a chance to look at it. And it shows all the roads that we propose to resurface in each district. And unfortunately, the number of miles that we'll be able to pave this next year is a little bit less than it was this year, because asphalt has gone up significantly. And so, but we'll do what we can with the money that we've got. Our money from GDOT did not go up very much at all, unfortunately. And so any other projects, we'll have to use SPLOST money for if we go beyond this next year.
Thank you. I seek a motion, please. Thank you, sir. It's been motioned by Commissioner Henderson and second by Commissioner Edwards. Any discussion? Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you. Chester, I just want to say this. I mean, man, you said you have really seemed like just came out since you've been coming up in the past 2 or 3 years, and I mean, you've really I won't say grown, but you really have just been a really force for the road department, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. It passes 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Chairman, the next item we have on the agenda is number 14, and it's going to be presented by Interim County Manager, Mr. Jarvis Sims, the ARPA lost revenue for capital projects request. This correction was made for $5 million versus $5,000, and its source is ARPA budgeted.
Thank you. Want to ask Attorney Shannon to come up as well? Or
Yes, she can come up as well.
okay.
So in our last meeting, our initial request was for $8.2 million to utilize ARPA funding to address critical capital needs within our county. We had good discussion from you all, and we took those discussions and we revised the list based on good feedback to an amount now of $5 million. The needs are still there. The $8.2 million needs are still there. However, we thought it would be best to see if we could reduce that amount to $5 million to address critical needs within our county, such as public safety, addressing our aging parks and recreation facilities, addressing needs within our departments, our building departments, facilities. There are critical needs that we have identified, and this is our funding source that is practiced throughout the country. Other counties are utilizing ARPA funding to address needs such as I do know Fayette, I know DeKalb, I know what we're asking It's a small amount in comparison to some other counties. Some other counties have utilized their entire ARPA funding to address water resource needs or infrastructure needs. The county is receiving about 21 million. We are only asking for 5 million. I know the impact we would like to do as far as with the county addressing our nonprofits as well as our small businesses, and I recognize their critical needs, but I also recognize the needs here in the county. I know when I'm asking our transportation director, public works director to address the high grass that we see on Brown Bridge or any other areas in the county, and when they tell me that they're utilizing equipment that, you know, Mr. Sims is broken down, they need it right away, we can address it as soon as we can. However, we just don't have the equipment. Or when I get a request from our sheriff saying, which documented, we have vehicles that are on the road, 15-year-old vehicles, 160,000 miles. Those are real needs that we have to address. So what we have before you all is $5 million of needs utilizing ARPA funds, and we hope you all take these needs for consideration. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioner and Commission.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for being here tonight.
No problem. If I might add, I know at the last commission meeting there were discussions about other potential funding opportunities for infrastructure. So I did do some research to see what was available in the state as far as infrastructure grants. And right now there's really a focus on water infrastructure, broadband infrastructure. The type of improvements that you guys clearly need to do according to that list, there really are no grants that are kind of open infrastructure. You can do what you want to do with it. They're very prescriptive and very precise in what you can do with those grants. So say, for instance, there aren't really grants out there to buy new police cars or, you know, ambulances or equipment like that. They're very targeted, again, to water and infrastructure. The infrastructure bill that was just passed by President Biden is very infrastructure heavy in water and broadband. So I think that the recommendation before you is reasonable. I think it represents less than 25% of the community's total allocation, with like 80% of that money going towards the community and only 20%, well, a little less than 25%, staying within the community to external things that internal things that you guys really need. So that's just my 2 cents and my recommendation, if you will.
Thank you. Let's get a motion on the floor so we can talk about this.
So move this stated by the county manager.
Can I get a second? It's been motioned by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Cowan. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to remind the board that we were very intentional last budget season to roll back our millage rate at the expense of some of our capital needs. So next July, if we can't get some of this ARPA money spent on some of our infrastructure needs in terms of police, sheriff's deputies' cars, and the other needs that we have, then we're going to be throwing it on the backs of the taxpayers next July because these needs aren't going away. So I would encourage the board to approve this amount this time, please. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Commissioner Sanders, then Commissioner Henderson.
Just to add to the infrastructure bill, I know we have some of roads issue. We had a huge session on this at ACCG at the convention, and roads is included in that. So that's why we intentionally, we need this grant writer in place, because that was the biggest conversation we had at ACCG when they talked about this infrastructure bill, was highway and road improvements on utilizing these funds. And that's why they told us in advance, make sure you have your grant writer in place to send for these funds, because the funds are coming down to the state. So it's not, and she is correct, Attorney Shannon is correct, it is broadband and water, but it's also including roads as well. When you mentioned Fayette, DeKalb, and Fulton, a lot of them also have grant writers, and they use their grant that ARPA fund and use their grants to do a match to get additional funding. So they did do that as well. So they received matches, and they used their ARPA funds and put it in a bucket so they could expand their money. They didn't spend all of theirs on infrastructure. And I hear what Commissioner Edwards is stating, but this is the first time, I believe, ever that we've never budgeted for capital improvements in any budget, that we had zero in any budget. So that's what puts us at a standstill and makes us look kind of not right, because there was $0 even budgeted for capital improvements. And we're embarking on just the ARPA funds, and that's, as the constituent stated, what if we didn't have ARPA? Where would we be?
Thank you. Commissioner, let me get Jarvis, and then I got you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Sanders, I'd like to make a note that two things. In regarding the grant writing position, that position has been posted for over 3 months, and we've had very, very few applicants to apply for. So we recognize that, and recently we changed direction that we're going. Instead of having a grant writer position, we're seeking a grant service, which we have an RFP that will be out this week, seeking that service for grant writing services. In regarding to not budgeting for capital, if you recall, in our initial budget, we had capital projects there that included, as far as with the millage rate increase, and the board here made a decision that they did not want a millage rate increase, and we, as far as did the rollback, and we addressed that by taking out the capital budget to address that, and we stated then that we would be coming back before you all seeking ARPA funds to address the capital needs here in the county.
Commissioner Henderson.
First, before I get to my questions, is that with any rollback, people taxes still go up. People still complain. So, well, you know, they gave us something, but we really didn't get nothing, because I'm paying more on my taxes on my home. If you look at a $200,000 home than what we were paying last year. So they're still going up, regardless of what you might tell them. They do go up. Out of the $5 million, one of three questions, I'll make it brief. Out of the $5 million that you're proposing, how much money goes towards sheriff cars?
The sheriff total amount is $1.4 million, 1.42. He's requesting $710,000 for public safety vehicles, and building repairs, $710,000. This was not his initial request. His initial request was about $2 million, but we had to scale it down to accommodate the comments that we had from the previous meeting.
Okay, so if the $5 million is approved, he will get that immediately?
Yes.
Because I think one of the things, if my memory serves me right, when he came up, he said, well, you just can't go out like you used to a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, go to a dealership and say, I want a car. You got to go and put in for it early so that you might have an opportunity of purchasing those particular cars, and then you got to have other stuff going to as well. The fire services, what do you have out of this $5 million?
Fire services will be receiving $241,000.
And that's for a vehicle? I mean, I'm asking, because I didn't.
They have the projects listed here, sir, but hoses and nozzles, a vehicle, a van, battery positive pressure fans, rescue tool sets.
And I understand it's a $3 million decrease. And I understand we probably need the cars, no sheriff department need the cars. And so, but that will not get him as many cars as I think that he needs. But something is better than nothing.
Yes.
And we need to do something. But also, what are we doing about, or what are we going to do about the food insecurities here we have in Newton County with the ARPA funds? Are we still going to have them on hold and say, well, we don't care, or we got to wait another year or so before we may get an answer?
That's next.
Okay. That's the next item, sir.
Okay.
Commissioner Mason.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Sims, if I heard you correctly, with fire services, with what they need, as well as what our sheriff's office needs, and we know that Attorney Shannon basically stated that our current infrastructure dollars can't take care of those vehicles, so I'm looking at about $1.6 million is what I've calculated. So I'm trying to see from 1.6, how do we get to 5 million?
And
So
we have the listing of the different projects or different requests before you, and it's also in your book.
So it looks like there's a variety of departments. Animal Services is getting funding, Clerk of the Superior Court, Development Services, District Attorney is getting funding, the EMA is getting funding, Facilities is getting funding. There's some money for probate court, the $650,000 for that. Public Works is getting a tractor, a Gradle, a broom sweeper, a broom mower. Recreation includes Miracle Field, Nelson Heights floors, Nelson Heights restrooms. There are some city pond improvements. Senior Services would be getting fans and heaters for seniors in addition to a van. The sheriff would get his vehicle and building repairs. Tax assessor would get vehicle. Tax assessor and GIS would get some software that they need. There would be a new ticket system for the tax commissioner, and that's pretty much what makes up your $5 million total, are all of those projects and all of those departments.
And I just want to add that, again, the initial request was 8.2, and if you carefully look at this particular list before you all, we're addressing public safety, we're addressing our parks and recreation facilities, we're addressing tax assessor when they came up and talked about what type of innovation that needed. So this is not a wish list, this is a critical list.
Thank you, sir. I got a motion on the floor. I'm gonna call for the vote. All in favor? I'm sorry?
What's the motion?
The motion is for approval of the $5 million.
If I might add really quickly, with the 5 million plus my recommendations, the commission would still have 4.75 million left to allocate, just so you know what would be left in the pot unallocated that you guys still have to disperse.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, and I get all of this, and I see all of this, and I hear what everything's being said. What I'd like to do is actually make a substitute motion where we can actually table this for 60 days, go back and have some additional conversation and discussion about these particular items, because it has been brought to my attention that there are some state dollars. It may not be from infrastructure directly, but there are some state dollars that can cover these particular items that are on this list. So I would like to do some additional research. So I'd like to make a substitute motion that we table this for 60 days and do some additional discussion and then come back and address this concern.
Is there a second? Go ahead.
You made a motion, we voted on it. You made a substitute motion, you can't vote on it.
Oh, yeah, I did call for it. I'm sorry. You correct. I did call for the motion. I did call for, I'm sorry. I did call for the motion. I did call for the motion. Let me, all in favor, I did, Commissioner Mason, I did call for the motion. Yeah. All in favor again. I know, any opposed? That's my apologies, because I did call for, you correct, sir. It passed 3-2. No, it passed.
It passed.
It passed 3-2. Mr. Sims.
The next item before you all, we have our consultant, Ms. Kennedy Shannon, presenting the ARPA allocation recommendations.
Yes. So I was before you all about 2 weeks ago, and there were some comments and there were some concerns about the recommendations. So I wanted to come back before this body, one, to discuss the updated recommendations and some of the changes that we've made. Also during that presentation, I told you that we would be going out and auditing some of the organizations that you've already given funding to, and so I'll give you a brief cap on that. So we were able to go to Willing Helpers and determine that they are doing things excellent. Very good organization, no complaints, no issues. They're a really good organization in that they are one of the only organizations providing that medical service to individuals who are not insured, and they run a really tight camp on a very small budget, but they're doing really great things. We were also able to go out to Viewpoint Health, and again, had no concerns with Viewpoint Health. They're doing really good things. They had all the receipts ready for us, all the invoices in a binder ready to go, so it was a really quick audit for that. Salvation Army was a different story. We were able to stay on site for Salvation Army for 2 days. It is determined, and this is by Salvation Army, that a total of $187,000 in funding that has gone out for rental assistance will be returned to the county because it should not have gone out. That amount may change once they start going through these files and determining which particular rental assistance applications they can attribute to ARPA, because there was really no income information in any of the files. There were no checks to see if individuals lived in qualified census tracts. And so they've acknowledged that $187,000 thus far will be returned to the county in that funding. So actually, I'm scheduled to meet with them tomorrow morning to get a further update and to look and see how many of the files they were able to get income information for, because whatever files they can't get information for, they'll have to eat those files, and they understand that. So I should have another update for you all with a different amount. I'm positive that amount will change, but that's where we are right now. I was also contacted because your agreement with the government says that you have to report this. So I was contacted by Treasury's Office of Inspector General. They wanted more information on the situation. I spoke to a special agent in charge, Carl Mastaduno. I have his phone number and email, and informed him that Patrick would be giving him a call. I gave him the gist of the situation. While I also had him on the phone, I took an opportunity to get clarity about my opinion of the conflict of interest with regards to Commissioner Saunders' request. And he was of the opinion that he agreed with my assessment and said that I could say as much on the record. So he feels, and I feel, that if we do that unilaterally, it would be a conflict of interest. He said, as a government, you can make your own decision about what you want to do, but you will not be able to use the fact that you weren't told in the event that there's an audit. And so if you have any questions about that, you can contact him directly. This is the Department of Treasury. This is the department that lets us know what is conflict, what is not, and they investigate it. So again, I'll pass that information on to Patrick. So back to my recommendations. So the only ones that really have changed are the nonprofit assistance grant. We've added $1 million to that line item. We've increased that grant amount up to $100,000 per organization. And then we also made a change to the I think it was food security. So we have a total of $600,000 in that, but the projects can get up to $30,000 per project for the food security program. Those are really the only changes from last time.
And that's the food pantry?
Yes, that would cover food pantry. I can go over. The Food Security Grant Program will be a competitive countywide grant program for nonprofits that want to fund an existing food pantry. And I made that change based on Commissioner Edwards' comments about no new food pantries. We should only focus on the ones that are existing. So I did incorporate those changes, Commissioner. So it would only be for existing food pantries. This grant would give additional points to those organizations located in qualified census tracts, and a suggested amount not to exceed $30,000 per project. Looks like we have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Sanders.
You know I have questions. First, I would like the contact information to the detective or.
Well, we'll do that. We'll do that offline.
No, I have questions. I actually have questions.
Okay.
With that as well, I would also like to know from you what was stated to him in regards to the decision. I would like to know in detail what you stated to him.
Okay. So I informed him that when I came on board, that there were individual allocations to each commissioner of $1 million, and that each commissioner could pick their own priorities in their own community. I also mentioned to him that one of your priorities were the Divine Nine, or black fraternities and sororities. And I also mentioned the fact that you were a member of one of the sororities in which you wanted to fund. He said that in of itself was the conflict of interest, pretty much the same perception that I had. So that was pretty much the gist of the conversation.
Okay.
He also suggested that we do it in an open grant competitive way because the final rule really designates that and says that's the way to do it. So does 2 CFR. It actually states in the final rule that a competitive grant process will alleviate all conflict of interest. So if you want to confirm that information with him, I'll be more than happy to share that information.
Thank you so much. And
You're
also,
welcome.
I did see in there, because you mentioned last time, when I mentioned about the shuttle buses for the youth and the mental health piece for their therapists, and it did not have to be in the West Side Youth Facility. I didn't see that, because you said there was money fund left over. I did not see that.
Yes, so there's $4.7 million left over. You mentioned that you wanted to do that. Right now, we don't have any organization that would do that. Where would these people be housed? And so we would need a little bit more information, but I'd be more than happy to.
Owned by the county. I couldn't own it.
No, I'm saying though, you're saying you want mental health professionals, but where would they be housed? Would they be housed in a nonprofit? Would they be housed at Viewpoint? So until we get some more information about an actual program, there's really nothing for me to recommend, but that would come out of that $4.7 million left. I'll be more than happy to recommend a program once we kind of figure those out, but for these programs, I kind of know the ins and outs of the program, what the max amounts would be, but for the ones you mentioned, there really is no discussion of where these particular individuals will be housed, who will drive the van, who will be responsible for the van, things like that.
Yeah, we have fleet. I thought we had fleet department. The fleet department will.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
I'm sorry. I was confused. Yeah,
but no, if somebody gets me and say, hey, we want a van, it can be in the fleet department, we'll have, mental health services that will be in this department, I'll be more than happy to put together a recommendation.
Utilize for our youth to take, any district can utilize that to take our youth on trips or whatever. It's just for educational purposes. It wasn't just for, when the West Side Youth Facility was thought of, this actually came from the youth and their parents. It wasn't my idea.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, our children have not done anything outside of Newton County. So it can be housed for the West Side or whoever, all the youth can do whatever. But if we house at the fleet, we have a fleet department. It wouldn't be at my house or anybody's house.
No, I got you. And I'll be more than happy. I mean, this isn't the end all be all. Like, I anticipate being before you again with additional recommendations on that $4.7 million that you guys have to spend. But I just want to stress this one last thing. We got to make a decision. You guys are behind the 8 ball in spending. December 31st, 2024 is coming quick. If you do not spend your money by December 31st, 2024, it will go back to the federal government December 31st, 2026. And depending on who's in the White House, they may be really anxious to get that money back. So I just want to make that statement. So we need to be very clear. We need to get these programs rolling and out into the community so that we can get that money back.
All right. So I want to make sure I heard Commissioner Sanders right. You said purchase vans to be and house them at the fleet department.
Yeah, we can house them. It's utilized for the youth. A
And,
lot
and
of the youth. We have
utilize them for the West Side.
It could be for the West. She said it has to be in the under. What did you mention? It has to be communities. Some of the funding.
Yeah, you need to put them in qualified census tracts.
Okay. I'm
The
cool.
West Side of Newton County.
Cool.
Who would
No, that's
drive
cool.
them?
That's cool. That's
I guess you can figure out the
That's
driver
cool.
later.
We'll find a driver later. That's cool. I'm cool with that.
That's one thing I was gonna say. So basically, you're saying we can purchase
No, I'm cool. That's cool.
vehicles
Yeah.
for Parks and Recreation to utilize.
Yeah, but now we gotta make
No,
sure it's for the youth.
no, wait, no.
For the youth.
So, yeah, for the West Side, yeah.
Sure.
Transportation, for the youth.
Like if I
Sure.
wanna have a field trip,
Go
Commissioner
ahead.
called today, we have something to take our youth.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I make a recommendation that that particular request for vehicles be added to the revenue recovery under recreation? Because it sounds like that's the better place for it. I know you just approved $5 million, but you might want to add that because that particular line item is better fit under a revenue recovery because it's a purchase of the recreation department to be housed in your fleet as opposed to an ARPA standalone project.
Yes, sir.
As far as purchasing 2 vans, we can find out, and then we can or you can say tonight, you know,
Yeah,
200,000, 220, you know.
I would like it to be added on tonight, because I know how we do.
Correct.
When stuff is not added on, and we wait 20 years before we get to it. West Side Youth Center.
So I'll add to my recommendation an additional $200,000 towards revenue recovery for the purchases of vans to be housed in the recreation department.
Okay, great. Guys, Commissioner Henderson.
It was, I think, one of two, maybe three questions that I had. First, so what you're telling, I guess I said me, us, is that the $1 million for each commissioner that was approved and voted on by this board, which our county attorney said didn't mean too much, that we could change it any time, has been re-encumbered into the SPOSH funding. Is that what we're saying? Because there has not been, or have there been let me get Arthur for it, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm like, I don't know about
I'm sorry.
SPOSH.
Hey, Miss Kennedy, I'll tell you, it's been a kind of long night with this old man. And so I guess have been re-encumbered, or is it still in discussion?
So my recommendation would be, instead of the individual allocations, you guys have countywide programs with an understanding that those in qualified census tracts would get a benefit, which would actually benefit Commissioner Saunders and Commissioner Henderson's districts more than others. Again, there would still be $4.75 million that you guys could collectively allocate. I heard there was some discussion about homeless services might be a program that you want to do. We've seen that throughout the country. We've seen mental health programs throughout the country. We've seen child care programs throughout the country. So these are things that we're seeing that are needed in the community, which you still have money to create programs to get that money out.
So you want the board is for when it comes to that $1 million each commissioner, except where you just give it back and then we'll reallocate it.
That's my recommendation.
Okay. Second, what about the monies that has already been somewhat spent by the commissioner? I had spent like on the mental health center. What's the name of it? Viewpoint. I'm sorry, and it's in my district. Well, it will be in the district if I am reelected. Viewpoint with $200,000 already spent. So
that's already gone out.
Okay.
So that's money. Viewpoint's already gone out. Willing Helpers has already gone out, and then the youth.
And then I think
Middle
Commissioner
School.
Edwards, he had spent some money on the broadband too as well.
Yes, broadband is a separate recommendation. It's still the same amount for broadband. It was $1 million. There's 506 that's been spent, so there's roughly about 400 and something thousand
So
left in
only
broadband.
what I'm saying is I think money had been spent and utilized, and it's okay. I mean, you yourself just said it's okay to do that.
Yeah, because we can't really put the genie back in the bottle once the money's gone out. That all came out prior to me coming on board and iParametrics. So all I could do is go out and make sure they were spending the money correctly.
Yes, Ms. Kennedy. And secondly, it was about the a warming shelter. I think at Grace Methodist Church. Remember, the chairman and I, we had a conversation, call them sidebar conversation, when you come around here somewhere, and we talked about it. And said in this, I think somewhat of discussion that was said that if we just partner with the city of Covington with what they have now, and I think the interim county manager, he was supposed to get back with us so that we could utilize someone that was already in place in lieu of the Salvation Army and what had happened over there at the Salvation Army, that we will utilize Grace United Methodist Church and partner with the city of Covington, because the cold months is here, and we need to do something for those young men and women who don't have a place to go. And so, where we at County Manager? If I could ask that question.
Yes. So we had scheduled meetings with the city of Covington, city manager, deputy city manager, and they had to reschedule at the last minute. So we were waiting for them to follow back up with them. We reached back out and we're waiting for a follow-up.
Okay, so I think and thank you, throughout, sometimes I get to talking, but I think it's very important that we kind of handle this not as soon as possible. Because I've been there and it's been ran pretty good. And like Chairman and I talked about was maybe look at place for property for a center-like shelter where you can, one-stop shop almost, where you can stay there for some days and then you can get help. And then you can always be looked towards York Center with this two county commission, what he was talking about a while back. And so I think that would be too as good. One last question, and we're going back to the Salvation Army. You said that there was $100,000 that they identified that needed to be returned to the county. So if $125,000 is going to be returned to us, how much money have they spent? Because I think we had budget somewhere close around $700,000.
So we gave them a total of $700,000. They've acknowledged $187,000 of it should be returned. I anticipate that number changing. Once we get a final amount, that money will be returned because, again, not all of the ones that they think that they can charge to ARPA, they can because the documentation's just not there. So they were working to go back and try to get that income documentation for all of the people that were helped. But for the ones that they are unable to get that information for or do not reside in a qualified census tract, they're going to have to eat those as well. So I anticipate a decent amount coming back to that. But keeping in mind that you guys still have $700,000 allocated for rental assistance, and there's still a need in the community for rental assistance. We just recommend Salvation Army not be the one to do it, considering their previous situation.
I think these the suggestion that I think we turned down, not me specifically, was by Commissioner Sanders, and she said, "Well, why don't we just use somebody in house?" And I'm not saying it because you're sitting beside me, B. And we said, no, we don't want to do that. We will go somewhere like Salvation Army. And that wasn't really a good decision. It was our part. And I referenced at least I think I did, referenced the city of Covington. They do theirs in-house, and theirs has been spent.
So the recommendation, and we spoke with the city manager, would be for iParametrics to run your emergency rental program. We do it all via the computer. So tenants are able to go in, register, upload their documents. Landlords are able to go in, register, upload documents, proof of ownership of the property. The information is matched. Individual will receive a text message to let them know that their application's received, when the payment will be made. We would then go through and send a list to Brittany, who would then cut the checks directly to the landlords or to the utility company. But it would prevent the need from having to go to another community partner because frankly, I don't know what community partner you would go to if you're not going to use Salvation Army. But by doing it in-house through us, we can guarantee compliance and make it a very user-friendly process. Okay. So that was what was asked of us.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Kennedy. And one last question. I'm sorry.
No.
You want to say something?
Yeah, wait a minute, guys. Wait a minute. No, we're not going to operate like that. Are you finished?
No, I had one last question.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, last question, how much are we gonna have to pay? I think at first we approved, was it $400,000, $500,000? $475. So if you administering that program, how much more will we have to pay out to other funds?
So that won't require an additional task order. We'll bill it towards your existing task order. We have a current task order, I think, for 100 and something thousand, but we have a contract in place for 475. So we may need to come back and amend our task order, but the cost will really be the stand-up cost of the system, the online system and that process, and then it would be staff time with case managers that will be reviewing that information. But it would not be something you would need to add on top of the 475 that you guys have already obligated.
Now go ahead.
Thank you.
That's what I was just going to add. There's no additional cost is included in the task order.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanders.
This is my last. So I just need to get clarity because when we first talked about the consultant, and not directly you.
Gotcha.
We first talked about the consultant and the cost, we were told that they would not utilize the whole entire 475. And when I looked at that budget, a certain amount was coming out of Part 1, Phase 1 of the ARPA funds, and Phase 2 of the entire 475. So is the entire 475 going to be used as a consultant? Because we said it was not going to be, that whole amount was not going to be utilized.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, are we obligated to pay the Salvation Army anything for utilizing their services? I know, but are we obligated to pay the Salvation Army anything for their services?
I think our attorney might want to assist with answering that question with the current situation with Salvation Army.
I think when we get final word from the Salvation Army, what things look like, I think that'll be the point that we have that conversation. So, but they did perform a service, they should probably be paid some portion of their fee, but not the whole fee.
But I guess my question is, but we have to pay them for their services.
But they've already received it.
Okay.
They've already received payment. They
Okay.
pulled money out of the allocations they received. Right. So when we get a refund, we can insist on a partial refund of those fees, and I think that would be appropriate.
So just pay them based on the applications that were eligible to be
Yeah.
billed to ARPA. It's usually a percentage done
Yeah.
for their administrative cost.
Yeah, so we got to do the same thing with you all, so.
That
See-
wasn't my
Yeah.
question, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, that wasn't my question. I was going back to the beginning where a mention was you guys would not be utilizing your whole 475. So
I mean-
that's what I know you have to pay for services because I'm a contractor as well. I know that. But a lot of constituents was worried about the amount we were spending on a consultant, and also some commissioners even expressed the amount that we were spending on a consultant. So I'm just going back to original conversation from day one that we possibly would not be utilizing the whole 475. So my question would be is, we probably will be spending more money because on the budget that we're about to approve right now includes the entire 475.
So we have a contract in place already for 475. The task orders dictate what we do to earn that 475. When we first did the initial task order, that was before we knew we would be running programs. So let me give you some insight of what it takes to actually run a program, right? You need case managers to go through and review all of these documents and make sure that everything's there in order to make the payments. And if you're giving away $2 million or $1 million in rental assistance, that's quite a bit of case files that people will have to look at. The real upfront cost is just the build out of the system that can be used. And if we're doing, so I'm assuming these recommended programs you want us to implement. Now, if you guys want to do nonprofit assistance grants yourself, you can do that. If you want us to run it, of course, it would take staff time to do that, which we would build to the task order. So I feel like the cost is going to be incurred either way. Either you hire people internally and do it, or you're going to pay us to do it, but somebody's going to be paid to do it. I think you get the added benefit of us in that we're going to make sure it's done compliantly and in a way that's pretty simple. But if you wanted to find another community partner, that's your discretion.
But that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. We need to build a quality assurance department to where the funding that we're paying, and it's, like I said, Attorney Shannon, is not directed towards you. I said it before I met you.
I got you.
The amount that we're spending, we could have had a whole department in Newton County doing a lot of these services with qualified people paying them the money that they needed, and probably those funds would have lasted about 2 to 3 years. So we need to build a department, eventually, a quality assurance department, because we have the finance, but the finance is busy. They can't, and I wouldn't say busy, they have a lot to do. So we do need to eventually build these departments because we need to go towards community service projects and grants and so forth. So, and other counties do have that.
Thank you, guys. I think we have a motion on the floor. I'm calling for the vote, guys. We'll be here all night going back and forth. Huh? Yeah, we got a motion on the floor. We didn't get a motion? Okay, well, let's get a motion on the floor. Can I get a motion, please? It's been a motion by Commissioner Mason, a second by Commissioner Edwards. Man, I thought we had a motion. Any more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? It passed 3-2, 2 abstentions.
Awesome.
Go ahead.
And for clarity, that included the additional $200,000 revenue recovery for the vans, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome, thank you.
I'm not for or against. I'm just not, I don't approve all the items that are on the actual budget. I don't believe that we should have taken away the commissioner's allocation for their districts, because some commissioners have already spent their funding in their districts already.
Go,
Thank-
no, go ahead, sir. Go ahead. It's your,
Thank
you got it. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I personally think that, some of the high price that we're paying for a consultant, we get a consultant for everything. And I think we get a consultant to see how the sheriff department spend his money. We get a consultant to see how the fire department spend their money. We get a consultant to see how recreation spend them. I think we're being consulted to death. And I think we probably need a consultant to tell us exactly how many consultants do we truly need. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Next, please.
Chairman, the next item on the agenda is going to be the alcohol beverage license, number 16. It is for District 1, and it's the final reading. Covington Ops 1 LLC, DBA Covington Food Mart, 5485 Highway 81, South Covington, Georgia, 30016. The licensee is Mustag Deriya.
Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion to approve the final reading, Covington Ops 1 LLC doing business as Covington Food Mart, 5485 Highway 81 South, Covington, Georgia, 30016. Licensee will stop Tardillo.
Second.
It's a motion by Commissioner Edwards and second by Commissioner Mason. Any discussion? All in favor? It passes 5-0. Thank you. Commissioner Cowell. Citizens comment, my bad. Trying to get y'all out of here. Wow. Next on the agenda, citizen comments. This is an opportunity we let citizens make comments. You have 3 minutes to do so. Please, ma'am, state your address for the record. Your address and your name for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Wendy Lowe. I live at 35 Highway Drive. This meeting has been kind of frustrating tonight. I agree with Commissioner Cowan. It seems like you have put the cart before the horse. Scripture says, write it down and make it plain. And why didn't you all come up with a plan ahead of time as to whether or not you're going to make an agreement with the Boys and Girls Club? And I have a problem with that because it's a nonprofit. You could easily run into the same problem that you did with the Salvation Army. Once they get those funds, how do you know what's going to go on with that? And before you go back and have this executive meeting and discuss this land, you all need to come up with a plan. Because if you don't, okay, so that you go with them, okay? They didn't mind going out by themselves on September 30th and buying some land. And now that land has put you all in position, well, we need to consider this. Why are they driving your decisions? You're the county. You tell them what to do. You don't let people like that dictate to you. And when they get those funds, we don't know what's going to happen with it, and then you make an agreement with them. You need to have that agreement in writing before you go buying land. Because what is going to be their portion? How do you know that they're going to get their funds? Where are you going to get your funds from? Otherwise, you're going to end up like this again tonight. You need to write it down and make it plain. As a citizen, you all look unorganized. And you're the leaders. You should be presenting a unified, intelligent position. Like you don't have all the details on what you're voting on, and you keep going back and saying, we need to look at this land, we need to look at this land. The people at Trelawney on Sunday were upset. They don't want to park in their neighborhood. When people are going to come through their park, through their subdivision to the park. Why would you build a park like that? Denny Dobbs, it's not like that. It's very nice. You have 2 entrances, doesn't affect anybody's subdivision. Why are you even considering a property like that? The property that you already have, why did you spend the money and the time to go and have that land assessed? And now you're going backwards, and she spent the time and energy to get a $4 million grant. It just doesn't make any sense. So, it doesn't, and you say you have these critical needs, but yet you didn't put even a dime into the budget. That to me doesn't sound responsible. And you went back on what you voted, like 8.5 million down, now you voted the 5 million. Why can't you put the commissioners 1 million back in there? You all are wishy-washy. It's like you're straddling both sides of the fence. You guys need to do more detailed research. You need to consider what the citizens want. It doesn't matter what the citizens want. It's whatever you guys decide you want to do. District 3 needs a facility in their area. Denny Dobbs keeps adding on. Why would you do that when they don't even have one? And the citizens have told you that's what they want. We pay our taxes. We should have a voice. And y'all are just not organized. And it's just really unprofessional. Good night.
Anyone else? Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Frederick Johnson, 1036 Highway 162, Covington. Just got a couple of things I just want to put in your hearing. I guess it's in the way of announcements. On the 23rd Sunday afternoon, the Traveling Angel will be giving out turkeys at Under the Stars, a drive-through. I did get a chance on Saturday go up, take a look at the Spring Hill Park, supposedly, and some work has been done up there. Not a whole lot, but it's something that's been done. So I thought I'd let you know, Ms. Cowan, that you know, I did do what I said I was going to do. Also, on the 11th, which is Friday after next, the American Legion Post 32 will be honoring the veterans on the square. So if you got time, come out at 11 o'clock. And did one other thing. Oh yeah, still nothing has been done on the Moat Road connector. So this board voted back in 2021, I think it was in April of it, said it's gonna do something, but nothing been done, so just reminding you, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Good afternoon. My name is Thelma Starnali. I live at 3163 Stormont Street. I just need to ask one question. Did she not say that since you couldn't go to the Salvation Army, you would have to go online, right?
Not yet.
Huh?
Not yet.
Okay, so the only thing I want to ask, you know, if they start this going online and people don't have computers or anything, so what do they do? That's all I need to ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Commissioner Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. I've got, it seems like, several calls recently. Most recently, the roads are getting dirty again. And I know the Sheriff's Department's helping us again now too, which we appreciate. I was wondering, could we put together some type of resolution that calls 2023 some kind of resolution that calls on citizens to have pride in the county and the way the roads look.
We can.
Put something together and instill a little pride in folks, because I see what folks do. They throw stuff right out the window.
Yeah.
Right out the window. And that's not a product of having expensive convenience centers. That's just a product of not caring. So maybe some type of resolution that we can trumpet throughout the county, vote on here in a public setting, and help that for 2023. Maybe a suggestion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We can do that definitely. Commissioner Cowan.
Are we going to have an executive session after this?
No.
I thought we were not. Okay. All right. I don't have any comments. I'm done.
Commissioner Mason. No. Commissioner Henderson.
I have one one brief comment. I know as a young man when I was growing up here in Dune County, and this is for me as home. This is where I was born at. It's down the street. And I live just on further down the street. This is where I live at now as an old man. There was a lot of people who died, who gave their life right here in Covington. I think somewhere down on Wall Street, there's an old tree where a man was hung. But I said that just to say this. Go out and vote. If it wasn't so important like people say it's not, then they wouldn't be trying to stop you from voting. Thank you.
Commissioner Sanders.
I ask that you remember these numbers. $25,000 a year to incarcerate a single person, and roughly $2,000 a year to treat someone with mental illness. I spent 4 days in Toledo, Ohio, which is Lucas County, for a criminal justice reform and mental health peer learning with NACO. It was 20 elected officials, judicials, healthcare leaders from 12 jurisdictions around the country. And I was honored to represent the state of Georgia and Newton County. One of the things that they put in place is reducing the amount of people that are in jail dealing with mental illness and racial equities. We need here in Newton County to create a criminal justice coordinated council that includes our elected officials, judicial, our residents, faith-based organizations. We have funding in our ARPA dollars to be able to create these programs. These other counties have gotten it right. They work with their citizens with mental illness and have programs in place where the judicial system and the commissioners and the residents all work together to work in regards to mental illness. We need to move towards move from a change-based system to a risk-based system. And they actually do that in their judicial system, and they decrease the amount of those incarcerated in their system by 35%. Because majority of the individuals that are incarcerated, 80% have mental illness. And because here in Newton County, we do not have a behavioral health board. Yes, we do have Viewpoint Health, but we don't have it organized to where we have something that's structured to work with those people who have mental illness before they are locked up and incarcerated. So we need to work on that here in Newton County. And one of the great things that one of the commissioners in Ohio stated is that they have Parks and Rec every 5 miles within a resident's home. So a resident does not have to go farther than 5 miles for Parks and Rec. So I'm hoping one day that Newton County moves towards that structure. Thank you.
Guys, we will be leaving at approximately 7:30. The bus will be leaving at 7:30 in the morning. If you go into the retreat, please be here on time because we will be pulling out at 7:30. I greatly appreciate all of y'all. Seek a motion that we stand adjourned, please.